Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life, a modern remake to one of my favorite games of all time, Harvest Moon: A Wonderful Life, is not your everyday farming simulator. Unlike the most popular farming game in recent times, I won't name names, but you know who you are, A Wonderful Life tells a proper narrative. Now, I'm not saying that aforementioned farming game doesn't tell any stories or have any interesting plot lines, but in A Wonderful Life, time actually progresses. Your character and other characters in the world age. The valley gets bigger and smaller over time, and your marriage partner and child actually do stuff and grow with you. The story that A Wonderful Life spins can't be compared to any farming simulator I've ever played. So naturally, I'm going to take all that beauty and poetry out of the game and play efficiently and calculated in order to 100% Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life as fast as possible. I'm going to get all 88 wonders, finish the encyclopedia, and see every possible cutscene in 240 in-game days. So grab a snack, a delicious beverage, and get comfy, because over 3.5 hours of AWL goodness is coming your way. But before we get into all that animal care and plant watering, this video is sponsored by me. In my opinion, there are far too many creators on YouTube that litter their content with mid-roll ads. This video won't have any of those. All that I ask in return is for you to subscribe to the channel and enable notifications. About 86% of people who watch my videos aren't subscribed. So you should do that, because it lets me know that you're enjoying the ad-free content. If you want to help me out with the YouTube algorithm, liking this video would be awesome and is greatly appreciated. And if you really want this video to show up in other people's recommendation feeds, you should comment on this video and tell me what your favorite cereal is. Alright, self-plug over, let's actually start the video. Our journey begins on what I like to call Day 0, as we see our farm mentor, Takakura, looking out into the ocean. I create my character and name him Jack after yours truly, then take my first steps into Forgotten Valley. Takakura shows off our new farmland, and the RNG gods select the pointy-eared dog, who I name Poncho. I'm introduced to my first barn animal, a female cow, and I name her Poppy, continuing the theme of naming animals starting with the letter P. Fowl Farm will be the name of my new empire, and Takakura shows me around town. I say hello to Rock, Lou, and Tay at the inn, Nina and Gary, Chris, Hugh, and Sully, and Gavin and Molly live down by the cafe. Romana, Lumina, and Sebastian can be found near the villa. After that, I'm introduced to eligible bachelors Gustafa and Gordy. The farm I have to compete with is run by Matthew, Cecilia, and Vesta. Before the end of the day, I say hello to my new Harvest Sprite friends, Jack, Ace, and Hart. There are plenty of more characters in this valley, but we'll meet them all in due time. I begin in earnest on day 1 by collecting 3 wonders for starting the game and looking in the mirror 1 time before getting on my spring outfit and whipping up some herbal soup in the kitchen. I milk Poppy for the first time, then take the newly acquired milk inside to make some milky soup. Over in the forest, I introduce myself to local homeless man, Pooey, then collect my first recipe from the Harvest Sprites. Introductions are made to archaeologist Carter and best girl / should have been a bachelorette, Flora, before picking up my first request from Cecilia and Gordy off the community board. I give some herbal soup to bachelorette number 1, Nami, and then complete my first request by giving bachelor number 1, Gordy, some milky soup. I introduce myself to firework craftsman Charlie by beating his sorry butt in a game of territory capture, then provide bachelorette number 2, Molly, with a lovely flower. That afternoon, bachelorette number 3, Cecilia, runs up to my door and tells me about her passion for crops and farming. I spend some time down at the dig site, getting some gifts, and utilize my remaining sunlight hours to till the fields. I plant and water some tomatoes, and to finish off the day, I give mad scientist Daryl a coin, and then provide old man Gary some soup, before hitting the sack and ending day 1. You'll be seeing a lot of this in the next 100 days. I'm watering crops and taking care of animals, before introducing myself to bachelor number 2, Matthew, with some herbal soup in hand. Auntie Romana gets herself a flower, then I dig up the first of many stone tablets down at the dig site. I also got myself a golden fork which sells for quite a good sum this early into the game. Back on the farm, I've got 2 new wonders for digging up both of those items. That evening, I spot Molly down by the bridge, and we have a nice little chat. As I'm looking out at the river, Bachelor number 3, Rock, decides to interrupt my good time, talking about how everyone is so busy all the time. I agree with him just to make sure he goes away. It looks like Nina and Gary are going for a walk when I catch Nami creeping on him. Then I end the day by doing some dog training with Poncho. Day 3 is the first day Van is in town, so I say hello and give him some gifts to butter him up. Another new character is in the valley as I introduce myself to Baddock and give him a gift. Van finally opens up his stall, so I head back home and convert all of my B rank milk into milky soup for that extra profit. As the rain starts coming down, I run into Molly, being interrogated by my dog, Poncho, next to the barn. Of course, I make sure she's okay before introducing myself to the 4th and final bachelor, Gustafa, down by the river. He seems like a pretty chill dude, in my opinion. On my way back to Van's stall, I'm interrupted by the 4th and final bachelorette, Lumina. We have a quick chat, and then she runs away from me. Over at Van's shop, I pick up the fishing rod for 500 gold, and then negotiate a 20% increase in my soul goods to get enough gold to purchase my first animal, a female sheep. I also decided to order 5 units of fodder plus, to make sure that the second wool shearing results in gold wool. That afternoon, Vesta introduces me to Matthew, even though we've already met. We have another quick chat, and he also runs away from me. I guess I have bad breath or something. Speaking of dudes with bad breath, I run into Rock talking to Lumina. She's smart enough to walk away, so he focuses on me instead. He takes me down to the swamp and is 100% convinced that the turtle is dead, and that Hugh did it. With perfect timing, the turtle runs away, proving that Rock isn't the brightest tool in the shed. That evening, I run into the Harvest Sprites at the Goddess Pond, where they say the goddess is asleep or lost or something. We just need to find as many wonders as possible to get her back. I end day 3 doing my first bit of fishing in that very Goddess Pond. The morning of day 4, I'm watering some tomatoes, filling feed bins, and cuddling some cows, before running into Cecilia over at Vesta's farm. She has to do some shopping, so I say, let me go with. But she blows me off and just goes by herself instead. I take out my frustration on Charlie by beating him in his favorite game, and then head on over to the villa after hearing some music. Rock and I walk in to see Lumina playing the piano. She asks what it means to play freely, and I advise her just, have fun with it. Rock doesn't like that answer, so he leaves Lumina and I alone. I spend most of the afternoon down at the dig site looking for more golden forks, but when I come up for air, I learned that I missed the delivery of my new sheep friend. Takakura hooked me up with some clippers, and I finally meet my new sheep and name her Polly. The rest of the day is spent down by the beach, catching new fish, where I got my 6th wonder for catching 3 unique fish. It's day 5, and I got an apple tree to water and a sheep to snuggle. Then I'm back in the kitchen, where I get a cooking level up. Now I can finally make sashimi, which a lot of people love as a gift. It requires 1 fish and is great for stamina regen. While going into the cafe for some caffeine, I run into Molly, who needs to vent about her problems. I let her know she can always talk to me, and that makes her feel better, I guess. I take a look in the mirror and then find Nami out near the pasture. She takes a look at some dirt, a tree, and Poppy the cow, and then decides to leave. I also get a wonder for looking at myself 3 times in the mirror. I then spent the evening watering my tomatoes and fishing over at the waterfall. I begin day 6 with the customary crop watering and animal care, before checking out the requests board where Molly and Rock need some stuff. Lucky for me, Molly only needs milk, so I give her that, and then run into Gordy down at the beach. I kind of just sit there and watch the waves come in, which is, pretty chill. I'm having a good time. Rock finally woke up, so I deliver the fish that he requested, and then notice Cecilia walking to the forest. Of course, I follow her over there and stay still as a statue, as I observe the beautiful nature around us. That afternoon, I run into Daryl, who seems pretty pissed off. Turns out someone in the city stole his seed maker prototype, so he donates the true seed maker to me. Thanks, Daryl. You're the best. With that seed maker, I get our first additional farming facility and a wonder. I end the day by playing with Poncho outside the house. Call me Johnny Appleseed, cause I'm watering an apple seed the morning of day 7. Polly also has her first coat that I can trim, and the harvest sprites teach me how to make caprese salad. I went to check up on Cecilia, and she takes me to the forest to tell me she has an arranged marriage interview set up. I tell her that she needs to turn it down. After a big ol' yawn, I notice Molly brooding down by the river again. She's having another identity crisis, so I tell her that she belongs in the valley. She says she's going to settle down here and have kids here. Well, that may or may not happen, we'll see. I spend a good amount of the afternoon getting my hands dirty at the dig site, then harvest my first crops, some tomatoes. I totally don't accidentally cut down a watermelon crop and another tomato, but it never happened, don't worry about it. With that harvest, I can finally utilize my new seed maker by making some tomato seeds. Of course, I've saved one tomato to give to Cecilia and complete her request. I finished day 7 doing some fishing down by the river. For those curious, here's a bachelor/bachelorette affection update on day 8. Looking pretty good, if I do say so myself. My apple tree has finally matured now that I can shake the trunk, and Van is back in town. So I make sure to give him a gift, which should really help with bartering later. I give Hugh a shiny moon rock thing, and ta-da! He's my first friend in the valley. After spending a good amount of time bartering, Van finally gives me the 20% increase to reach 8,400 gold for my goods. With the profits, I decide to purchase the brush for 1,000 gold. Later on, I go on to check up on Daryl and give him a gift, which gets him up to max affection. Meaning my 2 best friends in the world are a crazy scientist and a small child. That afternoon, I catch Rock trying to chat up Flora, who isn't having any of this. And then I get another wonder for making lots of money. Now that I have some excess funds, I decide to purchase a male sheep, then head on over to Vesta's to buy some watermelon seeds and grape seeds. I get those new trees nice and wet, then plant and water the watermelons in the adjoining field. I spend the rest of my evening down by the swamp, catching some fish. I'll eventually need to catch about 500 fish, so why not get an early start? The morning of day 9, I decide it's finally time to get the coop filled up. So I order a female chicken and some chicken feed. My watermelons are ready for harvest, so I get those bad boys scythed down and put into the seed maker before collecting the last round of spring flowers, which will be very useful later. That afternoon is spent down in the dig site looking for more gifts and valuable artifacts until my sheep is delivered. Since this is a boy sheep, Paul seemed like a perfect name for him. With Paul's addition, I get another wonder for obtaining 3 animals. 10 down, 78 to go. The rain started coming down in the afternoon, so I put on my raincoat, took a look in the mirror, and got another wonder. I guess I'm a vain man. I stumbled upon a funny interaction between Gary and Pooey, and then ran into Nami at the cafe. She asked what I wanted, and of course I wanted to sit next to her. I told her all about why I'm in Forgotten Valley, so she obviously walked out and left me with the bill. I'm a nice guy, so I pay it, but I'm broke and tired, so it's off to bed for today. Day 10 and the final day of spring begins by doing my farm chores, including watering crops, cuddling my new friend Paul, and chopping some grass. I make sure to collect all the mugworts around town for herbal soup, and then placed an order with Takakura for only 2 units of fodder. You'll find out why I did this tomorrow. That afternoon, Takakura arrived back from the town with my new chicken friend, who I named Pam. With our coop getting started, I get another wonder, and then it's back to the fields where I till some land and plant some watermelons. After all that work, I find Rock just freeloading on my property. Turns out he had a race against my dog, and he makes sure to tell me about it, and then he hits the road. I do some fishing down by the goddess pond before checking on Lumina. She shows me some pictures that are just as warm and comforting as a grilled sweet potato, and then she sees me on my way, but not before saying some weird things when I'm out of earshot. I begin day 11 and the first day of summer in the Harvest Sprite's hut. They found a cool little blue feather and they end up giving it to me to use at a later date. A new season means a new fit, so I throw on a fresh change of clothes and get to watering crops. Then it decides to rain, so back to the closet I go. I make sure Paul gets his special food, then hit up the Harvest Sprites for another recipe. Matthew and Lumina have a couple of requests, so I collect those and then make sure to grab all the happy lamps since they'll be super important later on. Remember how I sent Takakura to the city to buy 2 things of fodder yesterday? Well, I did that so he could come back on the first day of summer with a horse. I decided a white horse would look pretty cool, and I named him Prince. I took Prince on his first gallop, then went over to Vesta's farm to purchase some turnips. I spent the afternoon down at the mines, only to find Molly at my front door, requesting asylum from a shady stalker. Of course I let her inside my humble abode. She takes one look at it, and then leaves. That evening, I head up to the villa to chill with Sebastian, and overhear the ladies of the house discussing love matters. I can't be bothered with that, so I chat on some food, and then Sebastian sends me on my way. Polly is in need of a trim on day 12, where she reveals the first product of golden wool. I give a bird a little cuddle, then water my new sprouted saplings, before heading down to the dig site to unearth a golden fork. Gustafa and Nami seem to be having a JoJo-esque stare down, where I'm guessing Gustafa admits defeat by giving Nami an apple. Some tomatoes are ready for harvest, and I totally don't screw up and cut down another watermelon again. During my afternoon walk, I notice Gordy deep in thought. He has some artist block, and I suggest visiting the farm sometime. He says he'll consider the offer and thanks me for helping him. While hanging out at the inn, I give Molly some soup, which gets her affection level up to 10 hearts. The evening of day 12 is spent milking Poppy, fixing up some soup in the kitchen, and watering crops. If you didn't know, day 2 of summer is also the fireworks festival, which I chose to spend alone. The silence of being by myself is drowned out by the beautiful fireworks. After that late night firework display, Tay and Lou are at my door the morning of day 13. Apparently, Nami has run off, and they need some help looking for her. Of course, I go above and beyond, and get out searching for Nami with them, only for Nami to show up out of the blue. She intended to leave for good, but I guess Lou's cooking is just too good to give up. After doing my daily farm chores, I found Gordy putzing outside the front of the farm. I allow him onto my property, but law enforcement officer Takakura stops him to see if he's illegally trespassing, and I have to smooth it over. After settling that, Gordy watches me play in the dirt, and then inspects the dirt I played in. Day 13 is a van day, so I show him my wares, get my 20% haggling increase, and end up with over 15,000 gold that I use to purchase a new outfit for 1,000, and a male chicken to start getting the incubator going. I also ended up purchasing my second farm facility in the shape of a pond for 10,000 gold. That afternoon, I stop by Vesta's farm and chat to Matthew, ask him what he likes to do in his free time, and he likes to hang out at the cafe. He asks if I like vegetables, and you know your boy loves the starchy greens. And then he says whatever and ends the conversation. Over at the villa, I give Cecilia her daily flower, which gets her affection up to 10 hearts just like Molly. I spend the remainder of this day fishing down by the bridge, collecting flowers at the goddess pond, and watering my crops. I put on my swanky new outfit the morning of day 14, then head down to the coop to pet my chicken friends, and then finish up my chores by watering my tree saplings. Gustafa is hanging out playing his guitar and asks me if I have time to listen to his music. I love music, so I pop a squat and have a listen to his melodic bars. Now that I'm getting more animals, I'm gonna need some fertilizer for the pasture, so I purchased that from Vesta's farm, and as I'm leaving, I run into Matthew staring off into the distance. Turns out he's just creeping on Cecilia like usual. How dare you sully the image of this green goddess? Anyways, I approach Cecilia to let her know about her little secret admirer, and she just asks how I'm appreciating my new life as a farmer. So sweet and innocent, this one. I can finally utilize my new fertilizer to expand the pasture. Then I get cooking in the kitchen. I had some leftover money from the pond purchase, so I decided to get another sheep. Just as I make that purchase, Takakura arrives with my new rooster, who I name Preston. Somehow, Preston already got to work and I have a fertilized egg ready to be incubated. That afternoon, some tomatoes are ready for harvest, and I'm super careful not to cut down any growing plants this time. Then it's off to the dig site, where the second I find a little golden object peeking through, Carter says I have to stop. So I go straight home and check on my luck for the day, and wouldn't you guess it, I have not great luck. It's almost poetic. That evening, I'm back at the villa, giving Lumina her daily gifts, and guess what? Now she's one of my best friends, along with Daryl and Hugh. After giving Nina some delicious herbal soup, I can also add her to the list of people with dark red faces next to their names. Takakura wakes me up so early on day 15 to show me my newest farm facility, the pond. I think he puts it best when he says, "Yep, that's about it." That morning is spent making sure my best bud Prince is nice and clean, and then I collect the happy lamps down by Gustafa's house. Speaking of Gustafa's house, I go inside it for the first time to see him pacing about until he notices me and asks me if I want to hang out. I accept his offer, and he continues his line of questioning by asking me if I like Forgotten Valley. I mean, who wouldn't? After that, he serenades me for a second time with his delightful lyrics about dwarves and fruit. It's been too long since Charlie has been humbled, so I beat him at his own game, then give Cecilia her daily flowers, which adds her to my list of new best friends. I spent a good amount of time digging up artifacts trying to make up for my bad luck yesterday, before coming up for air and welcoming my new sheep to the barn. I decided that Ponzu is the perfect name for this little one. With Ponzu in the barn, I have acquired 5 animals and another wonder. That evening, I did some fishing down by the bridge, and then returned to the Harvest Sprite house and clicked on this strange pot in the corner for 100 times, until it gave me a music record. The remainder of day 15 was spent collecting flowers, watering all my crops, collecting my 14th wonder for getting another record, and cooking up in the kitchen, and getting a cooking level up. Day 16 begins with rain, so I put on my hood and galoshes and get outside to cut some grass. While checking up on the sheep, I learned that Polly and Paul got busy, and Polly is pregnant, so that's an extra 3,000 gold in my pocket. Some watermelons are ready to be plucked, so I get those chopped down and then replant some tomatoes. Now that the rain is done, I can put on some regular clothes and check the request board where Gustafa and Nami need some errands done. Nami's request was a fish, so that was an easy completion. Then it's back to the crop field where my turnips have finished growing. I get those harvested and make some quick pickles, and I complete Matthew's earlier request for a turnip. Then run over to Gustafa and complete his request for some milk. With all those completions, Gustafa is my new best friend, and Lumina's request for those quick pickles has also been completed. Charlie's request to win at territory capture will never be completed, it's denied. And that afternoon, I stumble upon Rock trying to pick up Lumina once again. This time, his strategy includes scaring the girl with talk of haunted houses and ghosts. Surprise, surprise, it doesn't work out, and she thinks I'm a ghost and runs away from me. All these women and men just like to run away from me. Over at the Harvest Sprite hut, I learned the recipe for some darn good soup, and spend the evening working on Sully's friendship levels, fishing at the bridge, and watering some almost ripe melons. I'm right back where I left off on day 17, watering melons and tomatoes. Paul is looking a little rough, so I give him a shear and get some golden wool, then head on over to Vesta's farm to confront Matthew about his creepiness. Instead of answering my questions, he just tells me all about his recent dream where Cecilia transforms into Vesta and corners him. It takes all of my power not to laugh at him for this little weirdo wacko dream, and my ability to stifle my chuckles is rewarded with a beverage, which I give right back to him, because I don't want any drink that Matthew's made without me seeing him make it. The afternoon is spent copping dubs in territory capture and getting my hands dirty down at the dig site. While I'm collecting some flowers over by the goddess pond, I noticed Rock and give him a bronze coin, which this gift finally gets him up to 10 hearts of affection. I finished the day off by getting some milk from Poppy and harvesting some ripe watermelons in the field. One of our new sheep gets his first haircut the morning of day 18, then it's back to the watering grind in the field. Today's a van day, so I get all that milk turned into milky soup, then start buttering up our favorite rotund retailer with eggs. Over at Gustafa's house, a gift of herbal soup nets us another best friend. Selling my goods to Van with my expert haggling skills nets me 18,000 gold, which I instantly spend on some bronze tools. I won't show myself buying each and every one of them, but here they all are in my hotbar. With the leftover money, I bought myself yet another sheep and some fodder plus to get that golden wool ASAP, then went down to the beach to catch some new types of fish with my copper rod. I spent the remainder of a rainy day 18 cutting some grass and fishing up at the goddess pond, where I got another wonder for catching 5 types of fish. Day 19 starts in the chicken coop as my birds need some lovin's. Speaking of birds, I want more, so I bought another hen, then got my first units of S rank milk from Poppy. I collected the last round of happy lamps, caught a brand new type of fish over at the swamp, then took out the trash, metaphorically speaking. This most recent territory capture win netted me a new prize, a music disc. Just after celebrating my victory, the Harvest Sprites alerted me to a new farm member, a hen. I named this new hen Peepa. Peepa's addition to the coop also got me 2 wonders, one for having 3 birds and another for having an animal born on the farm. Up at the villa, Gary gets his daily sashimi, and I get another best friend. Back on the farm, some melons are ripe and ready for harvest, and Takakura arrives back from the city with my new sheep, who I named Paula. Can you tell I'm running out of names that start with P? I end the day by watering my tomato crops and cooking up a butt-ton of sashimi. The final day of summer, aka day 20, begins by cuddling my sheepies and my newest chicken friend. I then hit up Vesta's farm to purchase a good amount of sweet potato seeds and a whole bunch of fertilizer as I prepare the fields for the fall crops. Takakura has come back to the farm to deliver my new hen, who is subsequently named Priya. My last crop of turnips are ready for harvest, then it's over to the seed maker to collect my melon seeds and then repopulate it with the newly picked turnips. With all these new animals, I'm gonna need more grass, so I get some fertilizer thrown down in the pasture. And then Rock gets himself a flower, and he is now at max affection and friendship. I finished the final day of summer by fishing at the swamp, watering my tomatoes, and then doing more fishing at the swamp, cutting into that 500 fish I need to catch. I begin my first foray into fall on day 21 by picking up some forageables and planting a bunch of fall crops. Poppy needs a nice washing before I double back to the fields and water the crops I just planted. After doing all my farm chores, Matthew and Cecilia decide to have a domestic on my property. For one reason or another, Matthew's being a little soy boy, Cecilia's mad about him being a little soy boy, but it all gets resolved. As soon as I think it's over, Matthew sees me as the shoulder to cry on and vents his frustrations, which I'm totally listening to. After that harrowing experience, I collect all the sage soils at the waterfall, which will be important later, then check out their request board, which has a new entry from Takakura and Nina. Nami gets her customary weird object gift, and my return gift is her being my new best friend, as well as reaching max affection. After that, I gather up all the trick blues by the swamp and find that Matthew and Cecilia have reconciled and are chilling by the river. Cecilia runs off, leaving me alone with this weird man, and he asks me if I do any fishing. Not wanting to be rude, I give him a smile, and he decides to run away, just like Cecilia did. Speaking of fishing, I do some of that, and then find Nami secretly listening to the silky dulcet tones of Gustafa. She says the music makes her feel like home, and hypothesizes it's because Gustafa is the one playing it. She concludes that this hypothesis is correct, and I go back to fishing. I forgot to change my fit, so I slip into my Sunday best on day 22. My farm chores today consist of harvesting tomatoes, giving some sheep a needed trim, and shaking trees until delicious fruit falls from their branches. I put a single apple and grape in the seed maker to test my theory on seed prices, then catch Gordy thinking stoically like always. He asks what's up, and I explain my morning. He says he's having artist block, so I recommend a change of scenery and a chance to hang. We end up at the river, where he produces an orange for breakfast and offers me one too. After my delicious orange breakfast, I catch Nina and the swamp turtle lining up for a race. Old Lady Nina goes Sonic mode and leaves the swamp turtle in her dust and proclaims herself the victor. As I'm walking out my front door, Gustafa saunters up to my house and tells me to follow him. We take the pathway up towards the waterfall, and he sings me another song. Another great listening party is capped off with a gift of a flower. On my way to go fish, I run into Rock, who's enjoying a nice rest along the riverbed. He says some typical Rock mumbo jumbo, and I agree with him because he's a sensitive little guy. All he needed was me to stroke his ego, and he's off on another Rock adventure. The rest of the day is spent training Poncho, getting some milk out of Poppy, and watering my crops for the evening. I begin day 23 rubbing my face on some feathers, and rubbing some bristles on some sheep. My grape and apple have been turned into seeds, and I can confirm that you can make more money, at least from the first generation of trees, by turning the fruit into seeds. So I huck a whole bunch of apples and grapes into the seed maker, then continue training Poncho. Van is here today, so I give him some freebies, of course, then find Gordy passed out in front of his house. I race over to check on him, take him inside, and he asks me to stay a while, and of course I accept. I'm a nice man who's worried about his friend. I can't forget to pick up all the trick blues before heading over to Van's stall to sell him all my produce for the negotiated price of 27,000 gold. With that influx of cash, I can purchase the new autumn outfit he has for sale, and I haven't gifted anything to Flora in a while, so I rectify that mistake and then start collecting the falling fruits from my orchard. After some fishing down at the beach, I catch a new type of fish, a red sea bream. That nets me another wonder for catching 7 types of fish. This evening is spent watering crops and starting to work on my friendship levels with Cole before hitting the sack. A rainy start to day 24 means a change in attire. There are some melons ripe and ready for harvest, and some sheep in need of love. The seed maker has produced some easy money, so I get that emptied and refilled with grapes and apples. I'm on the hunt for some mushrooms and rare artifacts before hitting up Gordy's trailer to give him an egg. That egg got him up to max affection and friendship, so that's one less person I need to give stuff to. I finish off a quick day 24 by fishing at the beach, milking Poppy, and then fishing at the goddess pond. I start off day 25 with a knock on my door. It's Vesta letting me know what time and where the harvest festival is. This morning, I need to re-up the chicken feed in the coop and pet some of my favorite birds before watering a whole bunch of crops. It's been about 10 days since I noticed Polly was pregnant, so it's finally time to relocate her into the isolation pens. That afternoon is spent cutting some grass in the pasture, picking up the fruit from the orchard, collecting the sage soils near the waterfall, looking for golden artifacts in the dig site, picking up more trick blues by the swamp, and foraging for mushrooms. While I'm collecting those fungi, I notice Lumina off on her lonesome. Rock does too, and his instinct to bother women kicks in. While Rock does say some nice things that Lumina appreciates, ego is once again his downfall, as Lumina heads off only for him to realize his mistake too late. That afternoon, it's off to the town square for the harvest festival. I put a fresh, juicy tomato into the stew, and there's more than enough servings for everyone in town to enjoy, even Van. After the festival, I give Matthew the last bit of sashimi he needs to reach max affection, and now I just need to work on that friendship. With what's left of the day, I water my sweet potato crops and do some fishing down at the swamp. I have a new chick born in the coop on day 26. This one's a boy, who will most likely be sold off later, so I named him Pesos. While Pesos won't have too much monetary value, he does earn me my 19th wonder for obtaining 5 birds. Of course, all my other animals need some love, so the sheep get cuddles before I clean out the seed maker and pick up some grapes and apples from the orchard. There's a new round of requests from Lou and Vesta, so I pick those up, then head over to Vesta's farm to purchase some strawberries, potatoes, and carrots before giving Vesta the fish she requested. I spend my afternoon at the dig site and fishing by the swamp, and then I finish off my requests by giving an egg to Lou. As the sun sets on day 26, I end the day by milking Poppy for that delicious S-rank milk. Some of our sheep are in need of a haircut on day 27, and my legion of sweet potatoes is finally ready for harvest. I have 0 luck finding golden forks in the dig site today, so it's over to the kitchen to make some earthy sweet potato soup, which is quickly given over to Nina. I got some fish to catch before fulfilling Takakura's request for 1 sweet potato. Then it's off to prepare the fields for another seed planting session. I interrupted Sully's nighttime stroll to give him some sashimi, which resulted in max friendship. Hopefully it isn't weird now that I'm best friends with this kid. Just as I was about to go to sleep, I saw Daryl zipping up to the forest, so I decided to follow him. Daryl's on the lookout for a cryptid, which, unbeknownst to him, shows up just as he was talking about it. I alert him to the fuzzy little guy who seems pretty happy to be here, and Daryl freaks out, and both him and the cryptid run away. My farm chores the morning of day 28 consist of watering the 2 solitary melons in the field, giving Poppy a good old cleaning, and trimming the wool off of Paul to sell the van. I decided it was finally time to start working on friendship levels with Vesta, whom I give a regular egg, and Carter, whom I give a fertilized egg. At Van's stall, I sold him a whole bunch of tree seeds, sweet potatoes, and golden wool for a final price of 44,736 gold, rewarding me with over 75,000 gold total, and another wonder for earning even more money. With the profits of my sale, I purchased the fertilizer maker and enjoyed my afternoon fishing down at the beach. With all this money, I can now afford to give to charity, so I made a tax-deductible donation of 100 gold to our good friend Pooey. Additionally, I bought another sheep to fill out the barn, since Polly will be giving birth soon. I spent the remainder of my evening fishing down at the bridge. I should be getting close to 200 fish caught right about now. My 2 final melons are ready for harvest on day 29. I also need to make sure the chicken coop has its supply of feed replaced and that my birds have the attention they need. Then it's back to the fields to plant and water some crops that will grow in fall and winter. These tree seeds are great money makers, so I refill the seed maker with apples and grapes, then enjoy the first snowfall of the year before heading over to the Harvest Bride's home and learning the recipe for some thick juice. It's the last day to pick up all these sage soils, so I make sure to collect those and head down to the dig site to dig up a golden fork. Takakura has arrived back from the city with the lamb that I just bought, who I named Porridge. Porridge then joins the family with the customary feeding of Fodder Plus. Down at the swamp, I make sure to collect all the trick blues, and then it's time to do some fishing. After that, I do some training with Poncho. It seems like Daryl hasn't learned his lesson and is on his way back to the forest. This time around, he's got some food lined up, and then he goes on to explain his masterful plan to me. As his back is turned, our favorite homeless man Pooey is stealing all his food. When he finds out, of course, Daryl has a meltdown and gets himself hurt again. Baddock is not going to be happy with how often Daryl's in his emergency room. Takakura wakes me up early on day 30, the final day of fall, to show me my newly purchased fertilizer maker. With that installed, I have earned another wonder for having 3 additional farm facilities. And I have yet another cause for celebration, as Polly has finally given birth. This little lamb is a boy, so I named him Pine. But the game wasn't having that, so I settled on Pino. With Pino's arrival, I get rewarded for another 2 wonders. One for filling out the barn with 8 animals, and another for having 3 animals born on my property. In all that excitement, I forgot to water my crops, so I get that done, then purchase 5 units of Fodder Plus for my brand new lamb. Now it's time for my first use of the fertilizer maker. Remember how I said earlier that collecting all these flowers would be important? Well, now's the time you find out why. After you've befriended everyone and flowers serve no purpose as a gift, you can utilize them for fertilizer. Just put in 1 flower and you get 5 units of fertilizer back. So I take all the fertilizer I just made and spread it around the pasture so there's plenty of room for it to spread. Since it's the last day of fall, I made sure to collect all the forageables I could and then started working on my friendship levels with Takakura by giving him some milk. I ended day 30 by doing some fishing down by the bridge and then some milking down by Poppy's udders. It's day 31, the first day of my favorite season of the year, winter. And it begins in the chicken coop with a brand new bird who will be sold for what he is named, pence. Since it's so cold outside, I need an outfit change. Speaking of change, I have a whole nother group of crops that can be grown now. So I prepare the fields, spread the seeds, and get them watered before hosing down Paula. I've got some more requests today, one from Tay and one from Chris. So I go straight to the kitchen to cook up some egg soup and hand deliver it to Chris to complete her request. Since it's winter, I make sure to pick up the upseed flower over by Vesta's farm, then put on my raincoat since it's getting wet outside. As the rain falls, allow me to introduce you all to my new best friend, 𝐿𝐿, aka the cryptid Daryl is trying to catch, aka the best boy. Or girl, I'm not too sure about 𝐿𝐿's gender. After hanging out with our fuzzy friend, I catch Gustafa and Nami staying dry underneath the inn. Then Gustafa ruins the moment by running into the rain, spouting his hippie logic about the rain being Earth's provider and bringing life, man. I think Nami stepped out into the rain because she felt sorry for the guy, but I don't know what she's doing. Speaking of people I feel sorry for, I gotta give Pui his daily $1 as he's out begging in the rain again. As rain turns to snow, I'm picking up all the flowers around the town for future fertilizer, and then giving Charlie some gifts as I start to work on his friendship levels. It's a cloudy day, but I'm still in my raincoat as I collect some wool to start day 32. My carrots and strawberries need the sweet, life-bringing quality of water, and I need the sweet, life-bringing quality of money. So I'm in the mines looking for golden forks. It looks like the rain isn't gonna fall today, so I throw my long coat back on and head down to the beach to do some fishing. After a quick pick-me-up at the cafe, I catch Rock pestering Lumina again. He somehow convinces her to follow him, even though she doesn't seem too willing. And they end up at the beach where the ocean calls to him. I do have a small, soft spot for Rock, since he is capable of being a nice guy, as referenced by this little conversation here with Lumina, so I guess I can forgive all you Rock lovers out there. Speaking of Rock lovers, Lou is under the impression that I am one of them, and tries to convince me to get married to him. Whilst we're talking, Rock bursts in and is confused why everyone's being quiet. He runs outside, and I decide to join him, and he's of the impression that Lou is trying to set me up with Matthew. And let's be honest, when Rock says he's worth like 100 Matthews, I agree with him. Matthew is the worst. I spend my evening watering my carrots and checking out my friendship stats, where I learned that Lou is also now one of my best friends, so that's pretty neat. Just as I'm about to go home, I notice Gustafa hitting up the cafe. I go inside to see what he's up to, and he asks to have a drink. We have our beverage, then go outside to take a look at the sky, which is so beautiful on this cloudy winter evening. He then drops some hot bars as I watch him riff on his guitar. Once again, I'm interrupted from a blissful night's rest with other people's problems. Apparently, Cecilia has run off and no one can find her. So Matthew does his goofy little run and ends up finding her at the waterfall. Of course, he scolds her for not being next to him all the time. With that resolved, I can finally go to sleep. I haven't checked on Prince in a while, so that's how I start day 33. Then it's off to do my other farm chores, including watering crops and filling up the coop with feed. Van is back in town, so I need to get in his good graces, and I start working on my friendship with Baddock by giving him a gift. After selling all my wares for a haggled 20% increase in sale price, I'm able to get just over 42,000 gold from the big guy. As I head over to Vesta's farm, I notice Matthew hanging out by himself by the windmills. No doubt plotting something nefarious to do with Cecilia. I ask him what's up, and he refuses to tell me. I tell him I'm not going anywhere, so he decides to leave, and thanks me on his way out. Now that that's over, do you mind selling me some peach, banana, and orange seeds, Matthew? With these newly acquired funds, it's time to step up our crop operation with a fertilizer spreader. Now that I have all these seeds that I just bought, I need to expand my orchard. So I spend the time to till, plant, and water all these new tree seeds next to my apple and grape trees. One villager that I haven't talked to that much is Gavin. So I decided now's the time to start befriending this lovable barkeeper. I spent the rest of the day saying hello to all my animals and fishing down by the bridge. The first thing on the docket for day 34 is to empty and restock the seed maker. After that's complete, I need to water my new orchard seeds and wash the grime off my sheep pals. I went down to the inn and found Nami and Tay chatting about a letter from Nami's dad. I guess Nami's a trust fund kid who'll have to finally find a real job. When she asks me for a gig at my farm, I say, of course, come on by. She can water all my crops. But instead, she withdraws her offer. Staying on the theme of women asking me for a bit of my time, Lumina asked me to take a trip down to the seashore. Down at the beach, she asked if I remember what my first love felt like. And as a man whose best friends are animals, I've never fallen in love. As we look out into the horizon, Lumina is called back by Sebastian and leaves me alone on the beach. I guess being a shoulder to cry on is a good luck charm, cause I got myself a golden fork at the dig site. And then I gave Pui a portion of the future profits from that fork. I went to go check up on Sebastian since he's worried sick about Lumina, and find that he's just got a picture of Romana as part of his valuables. He confirms my suspicions of that photograph, and obviously I'm not gonna out my dude, so I promise to keep it hush-hush. I spend the rest of the evening training Poncho and getting up to 1 paw print in each trick category. Takakura has finished the construction of my fertilizer spreader the morning of day 35. What good is fertilizer if your crops are dry? So I get those watered and take care of all of my large animals. Then it's over to the fertilizer maker, where I deposit some forageables. Muku and I are now the best of pals, so he gives me a little music disc, Joyful Autumn, which is my 5th disc according to this wonder I just got. Of course, I make sure to pick up the flowers and upseeds before spending some time by the river doing some fishing, where I caught a spotted char. Pui gets his daily 100 gold, and I get my daily milk from Poppy. After a long day, I just want to chill at the cafe, but Molly has other plans. She says she wants to skip out, but ya boy just wants to hang. Editing Jack here, I selected this option because if I selected the other option, which is going on the date, it would lock me into marrying Molly. It's an alternative proposal, and I don't want to commit to that just yet, so I can see a whole bunch of other Bachelor and Bachelorette cutscenes. I don't dislike Molly. She's not being eliminated from marriage contention or anything like that. That's why I chose the option. Okay, back to the video. Tonight is the night of the Starlight Festival. Of course, I'm gonna spend it alone and just enjoy my time with everyone who came tonight. People are socializing, Gustav rocking the tunes, and even Muku and the Harvest Sprites got to come along. Suddenly, Sully spotted a shooting star. As we all look up, the stars light the night sky, and my final action of the day is to wish to get along better with everyone in town. Day 36 begins by clearing out the seed maker and watering my crops. I don't like Matthew all that much, I'm sure you could tell that, but I want him to like me. So I gave him sashimi, which resulted in having every single Bachelor and Bachelorette being at max friendship and affection. That means it's finally time to select who I'll be marrying. A while back, I asked in a community post to pick a number. You guys picked number 3. So I'm putting all the Bachelors' names on a wheel, shuffling and spinning 3 times. The first name out of the hat is Gustafa. Then Gordy got a shot. And on our final spin, the winner is Lumina. To all you Lumina lovers out there, congratulations. I'll get to the whole proposing thing and stuff in due time. I still have some cutscenes I want to see. Back to the game though, Romana and Flora have some requests, so I head over to the villa and give Romana an egg, then head over to the dig site and give Flora a fish. After giving Muku another flower as a gift, he is now added to my list of best friends, where he belongs. Back on the farm, I've got a whole bunch of sheep I need to pet, and an empty chicken feed box that I need to refill. After a chill sesh at the cafe, I walk out to see Nina challenging Hugh to a race. Obviously, this little kid should dust her, but Nina has the magic power of the Harvest Sprites, and they teleport her to the finish line as the winner. The rest of my day is spent chipping away at the 500 fish I need and collecting some milk from Poppy. The Harvest Sprites got me up early to name another chick on day 37. This one is another boy, so Pennies is the perfect name for him. The one good thing Pennies provides is my 26th wonder. I sprint over to Vesta's farm to find Cecilia in a heated argument with Vesta and Matthew about her arranged marriage. I say, you know what? I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. But Cecilia makes it known that she isn't sure if the guy's right for her. But I'm a farmer, and I need to be back on the farm. So I'm watering my crops and then getting some golden wool for my fluffy boys. It's raining in winter, so that's fun. I seek shelter at the dig site and dig up a golden fork, then pick up another upseed, before running into the inn for a hot meal. Lou asks if I do much cooking around the house. And you know, ya boy's cooking mama. He's a master chef. So she hooks me up with some hot spices. I spend the entire rest of the day fishing all the way up until 2 a.m., waiting for this redheaded little minx, trying to get this cutscene. It's day 38 and the rain has subsided, so off comes my raincoat and back into the chicken coop I go. My strawberries are ready for harvest, so I get those chopped down, and I give one to Tay to complete his request. I also give Cole a coin, and then head on over to Van's stall to make some cash. Today was a pretty good day, as I managed to get close to 42,000 gold haggling with Van. Unfortunately, there's nothing to buy except for this music disc, which, I mean, objectively is way too much money for a music disc. So instead, I gave some of my profits to Pooey down at the beach, which got me to be best friend status with him. That evening was spent cutting down some grass in the pasture, fishing at the beach, and hanging out with everyone's favorite imbecile, Rock. Another rainy day on day 39 means a raincoat and no crop watering. So I start the day by petting some sheep and picking up a very important flower. Then it's down to the dig site to look for some more golden objects, before taking Charlie to the cleaners once again. I went to go check up on our good friend Daryl, and he's cooked up yet another invention. This time he's trying to utilize lightning to create power for the village. It goes as well as you expect it would. Down at the beach, Nami is going through it, ladies and gentlemen. She thanks me for everything I've done, and of course I thank her for everything she's done for me. And she leaves. Editing Jack back again. Much like the Molly date cutscene, if I picked the other option, it would have locked me into a relationship with Nami. That's another alternative proposal. And I have one more cutscene I want to see. Alright, bye. I look super tired by the end of the day, so the only cure for that is, of course, more physical labor. So I'm finishing the day by cutting some grass. The final day of year 1, day 40, begins with Vesta and Takakura at my front door. Cecilia's gone missing, so I decide to run off and look for her. She's not at our usual spot in the forest, but I do end up finding her having a nice talk with my dog in front of my orchard. She says that she's in love with me, but as much as I don't want to, all you Cecilia lovers out there, I have to say I don't love her back, or I would be stuck in a relationship with her. And we all know Lumina is who the fates decided would be our partner. Brushing off that heartbreaking moment, I'm back in the fields watering crops and hugging some chickens. Then it's off to the villa. I present Lumina with the ultra rare blue feather and swear to Romana that I will make her happy. Side note, as she's talking about marriage and stuff, I noticed this picture on her dresser. Does that look like the witch princess from Harvest Moon DSD? Because it does to me. Anyways, I'm totally listening to Romana talk about stuff. And then later, I say hello to Nina for one last time and give her a flower for the afterlife. R.I.P. Nina. Over at the dig site, I dig up a fork, say hello to the best boy/girl Muku before they go into hibernation. I harvest my potatoes and then check on the seed maker. It's looking a bit empty, so I get that nice and filled up and then spend the final hours of year 1 fishing, making some fodder, and preparing the fields for the spring season. The time in between day 40 and day 41 is, in my opinion, my favorite moment of any playthrough. I run up to the villa to meet up with Romana, Sebastian, and Lumina, and whisk our bride-to-be away back to my house, where Takakura follows us in for some reason. Lumina and I have a small but intimate wedding ceremony decorated by our friends the Harvest Sprites, where I mentioned that I don't care about the sex of our future child, because I love myself a surprise. Over the course of a couple years, I've got my Paul Bunyan on and have made the house much larger by creating a kitchen that a new look Lumina loves to cook in. We also end up having a daughter, who's the cutest fucking thing I've ever laid my eyes on. Marvelous, you did a great job with kids. I ended up naming her Luna because I thought it just sounded good, you know, like Lumina, Luna, you know what I mean? We start year 2 and day 41 in earnest, as I have a new chick to name. This one's a hen, so it actually has value, so I named it Penelope. Along with future egg profits, Penelope also brings me 2 wonders. One for reaching chapter 2, and another for having a full coop. Now it's time to get down to business. I fill up the fertilizer machine and get a whole bunch of crops planted and watered. Apparently Poppy hasn't been milked in years, so I get that done and then revisit the fertilizer maker. Speaking of fertilizer, the spring flowers are back, so I make sure to collect those. And of course, the dig site has been expanded for chapter 2, so I get down there and collect my first new artifact, a cool looking horse. Back at home, I test out the brand new facilities. Turns out, using the bathroom gets you a stamina boost. Over at the barn, the Harvest Sprites ask if Poppy is a wonderful. But nope, she's just a cow. And off they go to find a wonderful. I have a hankering for some ink black pasta, so I cook that up before running into Molly down at the bridge. I guess she had a boyfriend in the city who's too timing. This guy sounds like a real tool, and Molly thanks me for being a shoulder to cry on. A new year means new requests, and Charlie, Sully, a new villager named Garrett, and Chris have wasted no time getting on that board. I introduce myself to Garrett's wife, San, and start working on my friendship levels with her by giving her a flower. Then it's time for the New Year's festival up at our surrogate in-laws villa. Lumina plays the piano, which everyone loves, and Romana helps herself to the pasta that I made, so I hope it's to her taste. That evening, I run into Takakura, who has discovered a sentient plant in his house. I'm a big fan of this little guy. He goes by the name Vinny. Hey, Vinny, forget about it. Okay, wait, I'll stop. I won't do that again, I promise. I end the day by spending some quality time with Luna. With all the festivities out of the way, day 42 begins in the fields watering crops, then getting some lovely golden wool. I also spent some time chatting to Vinny to get his friendship all the way up to max. There's two things you need to know about Vinny. One, his friendship can actually decay, but all you need to do is talk to him to get his friendship back up. And number two, he can combine all the crops and trees I currently have access to make S-rank versions and new hybrid crops. With that in mind, I've chopped down some trees from the orchard and start mixing up some seeds. Utilizing Vinny, I make some second generation hybrids like a Waturnip and a Grey Toma. And remember those trick blues that I was collecting? I can use those combined with something like a watermelon seed to make a water blue seed. So I made a whole bunch of these blue version crops, but that's really all they are. They're just blue strawberries and watermelons, all that stuff. So there's no need to show you all the Vinny animations of me making those, but here they are. I can confirm that I've made at least 10 hybrid crops since I got a wonder for it. And I also utilized those sage soils that I picked up in the fall so that I can plant these hybrid crops in the poor quality field where they would usually just go to die. With all the hybridizing out of the way, I can get back into the mines where I dig up a new golden object, a hair comb, and then another new item, a silver coin. After some more digging, I even discovered the tablet for this chapter. One interesting they added in the remake is that Carter actually informed me that the tablet that I found last year was deciphered and had the words circle, triangle, and square on it. Maybe that's a little Easter egg to like the PlayStation buttons. I don't know. After an exciting dig site trip, it's back to being a gopher as I complete Charlie's request for 1 potato and then make my introduction to Garrett by giving him some sashimi. Back on the farm, 2 new wonders are in my mailbox for discovering the golden comb and getting that second tablet. As the sun starts to set, I see Daryl humming his way up to the forest yet again, prompting me to follow him. He's back at it, trying to trap Muku Muku with fish and fruit this time around. Much like last time, he keeps talking as Muku Muku stirs from hibernation to collect some food. As soon as he turns his back around, Pui comes along and steals the remaining food as his back is turned. So, Daryl commits seppuku. On my way back home, I run into Garrett and San's daughter, Kate, who loves herself a flower. I then finish the day off by watering some crops, doing some more sage soil combinations to plant the hybrid crops, and then completing Sully's request for 1 herbal soup. The morning of day 43, I'm milking Poppy, and then collecting my 32nd wonder for reaching max LP with an animal. Takakura gets a delicious helping of sashimi, which gets his friendship level up to max. Speaking of max friendship, Baddock is in town, so I give him a gift, which means he gets to join Takakura on my best friends list. Then I get to see a real cute cutscene with Flora as she shares a brief moment of relaxation with her little raccoon friend. Van's in town today, so you know I'm gonna be making money. Just under 43,000 gold for this trip, but Van has a bunch of new objects in stock, including a new outfit, which I purchase, a toy car for Luna, a new interior palette, and of course, I also buy the blocks and the ball. Along with these items, silver tools are now available, so I purchased the fishing rod, watering can, hoe, and sickle. Back at home, I populate Luna's toy box with my recent purchases, and then get my new rug out for everyone to see. I make some time for some Luna throwing, and then head out to the field to test out my new watering can. I finish off the day by giving Sebastian an egg, which adds him to the best friends club. Luna seems to be enjoying her brand new car with Takakura the morning of day 44. While Takakura babysits, I can get into the field and water crops and take care of the birds. Vesta has no concept of personal space, so I give her some soup to back off, and I guess that's all it took for her to be my new best friend. I dig up some coins down at the dig site and make sure I'm keeping that romantic spark alive before finishing this short day fishing at the beach. The grind doesn't stop on day 45 as I got crops to water and fertilizer to make. Milking Poppy for the billionth time, it seems. That's me 10 hearts with her, which is pretty sweet. Since I got the wonder for a full coop, I finally decided to sell off pennies. Also, I finally got the last artifact for this chapter in the dig site, the fish fossil. I was just chatting with Gavin at the cafe when he hands over his favorite record. The perks of being friends with a mustachioed macho man is jazz music. I guess now that Poppy is at 10 hearts, she can finally produce S-star milk. Also, here is the exact record Gavin gave me, Cafe Jazz. I finished the day fishing at the Goddess Pond, looking for new fish with my silver fishing rod, which I found, a rainbow trout. I finally was able to catch Gary near Nina's grave the morning of day 46, so I can finally pay my respects to everyone's favorite old lady. The minigame isn't as easy as I remember it being, but I didn't do a terrible job, so Gary gave me a new type of fish, a tuna. Gavin and Carter had some requests for me, and I got 2 more wonders thanks to cleaning that grave. I forgot to check on my crops and animals this morning, so I doubled back to do that before completing Carter's request for a Masu. Since I'm here, I might as well do some digging, but no golden object luck today. Pesos is the next male chicken on the chopping block. Speaking of chopping blocks, Daryl is about to land himself on one as I catch him looking through my windows to observe Luna's behaviors. Of course, he runs away before I can get my hands on him. At least he gets some type of karma by tripping over himself on his way out. That afternoon is spent giving out gifts. I give Tay a flower and manage to get him on my list of best friends, and then I give Romana the same flower and get her in my good graces. Gavin's request for A rank milk won't go unanswered, and my kindness won't go unrewarded as I get another wonder. A hectic day is capped off by some relaxing fishing down at the river. My tomato crop is ready for harvest on day 47. Pence needs to go bye-bye, leaving Preston the last surviving male chicken in the coop. By the way, here are all the current LP levels of the birds, if you're curious. Speaking of LP levels, I got 3 animals to full LP, so another wonder for ya boy. I finish up my morning farm work by trimming off some golden wool off one of my many sheep, and then I'm hitting up the dig site looking for gold objects since Van comes tomorrow. Pooey is still out here begging, so I help a brother out, then head over to the cafe to thank Gavin for that jazz CD. A gift of soup was enough to put him over the top to join my ever-growing list of best friends. I spent the evening fishing down at the beach, where I finally caught myself the fish that Gary gave me, a tuna. Day 48, aka Van Day, begins by harvesting some strawberries and giving some love to my fluffy boys. The chickens are out of feed, so I get that refilled, then dump my crops into the seed maker. I forgot to mention that all the crops that I make from here on out will probably be S rank thanks to that fertilizer spreader I bought last season. Selling off all my S-star milk and golden wool nets me a cool 44,000 gold, and then it's back to the farm where my watermelons are finally ripe and ready for slashing. As a short day comes to a close, I spend some time playing with Luna and training Poncho, who is starting to get adept at these little tricks. I'm looking good in the mirror on day 49, baby. I water the crops, then take another shot at the grave cleaning minigame, but I'm still not great at it. At least Nina appreciates my effort. I trim off some golden wool in the pasture and collect my first ever golden egg thanks to Pam. Those S-rank crops have promptly been turned into seeds, so I get the tomatoes replanted and re-watered. Now it's time for watermelons and potatoes to get a turn in the seed maker. There's a lot more seeds to make into S-rank, and I'm gonna need a lot of fertilizer, so I make sure to collect the flowers and then give Carter some herbal soup, which gets him to max friendship. For those curious, no, I didn't get any gold objects today, but nothing is more golden than friendship. So Chris gets herself a flower, and I finally got an appropriate relationship with my original best friend's mom. Speaking of moms, San loves tuna, and she also loves me. As a friend, of course, don't worry Garrett, I'm a happily married husband and father. With all this extra time on my hands without people to give gifts to, I can spend more time training Poncho. I finish off the evening by running up to the forest where Daryl is once again trying his best to catch Muku Muku to experiment on him. This time around, Van gets in on the buffet, as Daryl's back is turned. So, looks like Pooey, Van, and Muku Muku all had a good and filling evening. Just a reminder for me later, Pooey, Van, and 𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷 do not take kindly to being called fools. Pooey especially looks pretty pissed. Looks like I've got a typhoon to contend with on day 50. So I get suited and booted to go and harvest my first ever hybrid crop. I need to reassure my chickens that the typhoon won't hurt them, and then I clean out my seed maker. I have no clue why Flora is outside and in a tank top during a typhoon, but I give her some milk anyways, and add her to my list of friends. Typhoons must be good luck, because I got myself a golden comb today, baby. Chris was feeling generous after all those gifts I gave her, and gave me a new music disc as thanks. One person who won't be thanking me is Charlie, after taking him for all he's worth in territory capture. That evening, I toss Luna around in the rain and harvest another hybrid crop. Thanks to the disc Chris gave me, I get my 37th wonder for having 7 records. And it's been a while, but I can finally complete Garrett's request for pickled veggies, now that I have these 2 hybrid crops. So I get that fixed up in the kitchen, then head over to Vinny to combine the melon and tomato to make a melatoma. I then combine a strawberry and tomato to make a berrytoma, which instantly get planted. I complete Garrett's request for the pickled veggies, so he takes me back to his house and offers to deliver an alarm clock to my bedside table. I get that clock turned on, and now I'll be waking up at 5 a.m. for the future days. The morning of day 51, I receive a little surprise. Some ducks have found their way into my pond, and I get to keep them. I named the male duck Pete and the female duck Pippa. My blue watermelon is ready for harvest, and I need to say hello to my new duck friends. Then it's off to plant some watermelons and do some dig site shenanigans. Pooey gets his daily $1, and it looks like Chris, Colt, and Lou have some requests for me. Summer means that happy lamps are back in season, so I get those collected, and then get cooking on that tamamelo salad that Cole wanted. After making that recipe for the first time, I've cooked 10 different dishes. I spend the afternoon by completing Chris's watermelon request and Cole's salad request, then beating his brother in another game of territory capture. I make sure my crops are watered throughout the night and say hello to my sheep. Takakura needs to be relieved of his babysitting duties, but he seems to be having a fun time playing blocks with Luna. I've got lots of farm chores to start day 52, including watering crops, filling up the chicken feed area since those ducks eat so much, and milking Poppy. Pancho's getting really good at these little spinning tricks. He's even up to level 3 on most of the other training. He's still got work to do on that jump though. Down at the dig site, there's no golden object, but I still get a cool coin. As I'm doing some fishing down at the swamp, I reel up my first stringfish. And over at the beach, I finally get the huge calamari I've been after. Luna looked lonely, so I gave her some cuddles, before heading down to the beach to watch the firework festival. Luna was really enjoying the festivities since she was going psycho mode, running around and My blue tomato is finally ready to be scythed down on day 53, and I also got another chicken to name. Another boy means another silly name, so I went for Port. His name doesn't matter since I sold him instantly anyways. Poppy will never be sold, especially since she gives some pretty lucrative milk. Kate could probably use some milk as a growing child, but I gave her a flower instead. Now I have 2 small children as my best friends. It's not weird at all, I promise. While I was waiting for Van, I got some dog training in, then was able to sell off a whole bunch of golden produce and artifacts for a solid 47,000 gold. Van doesn't have anything new in stock, so I purchased the energy drink that Lou requested and complete that request. The reward for this request is actually pretty neat. It's a little sand bucket and shovel for Luna. I place it in front of the house, ready for her to discover later. With all the money I saved up, I make the first massive purchase of these 100 days, the barn upgrade. Meanwhile, my orange, peach, and banana trees have begun to produce their first harvest, so I pick those up, then show Luna how I put food on the table and a roof over her head. I deposit a singular orange, peach, and banana into the seed maker for some testing, and then finish the day off by combining some tree seeds and trick blues to make blue tree seeds. In this round, I made a blue banana, a blue orange, and a blue peach. I start day 54 off in our soon-to-be renovated barn by cuddling my sheep, then putting on my raincoat and hood to start preparing the orchard for new trees. I've got no luck down in the mines, but my seeds have finished generating in the seed maker, and I can confirm that you can get more money turning your fruits into seeds for bananas, peaches, and orange. I took my new tree seeds and combined them with some S-rank trop seeds with Vinny to make S-rank tree seeds, then planted them in my orchard for increased profit for the next time they bloom. Now that the sun is back out, I can take off my raincoat and continue training everyone's favorite dog, Poncho. Knowing what I know now, I deposit all of my bananas into the seed maker, then visit 𝐷𝐷𝐿𝐼, where I collapse from exhaustion. 𝐷𝐷𝐿𝐼, being the good friend he is, picks me up, dusts me off, so that I can finish the day fishing down by the bridge. My expanded barn has been finished on day 55. I now have 2 incubation spaces and can house up to 16 animals. I'm also rewarded with another wonder for getting 5 additional farm facilities. Now it's time to get down to business. I feed the chickens and harvest some tomatoes before gifting Cole a flower and gaining another new friend. These happy lamps need to be collected, and I have to make sure I stay on top of mining. Then it's time for more hybridizing, as I enhance my blue tree seeds into S rank and get those planted in the orchard. Pooey still needs some money, and then I start down the road of getting hybrid tree crops by combining an apple and an orange to make an apple. The only reason I did this is because the blue apple seeds need an S rank apple combination to get an S rank blue apple seed. It's definitely the toughest blue tree seed to get into S rank using Vinny. Of course, I get that tree planted and then finish the day off by harvesting some turnips and cutting some grass to make fodder. We pick up on day 56 at the beach. Luna does her little dance and plays with her new bucket and has a great time. Back on the farm, Pooey decides to trespass on my property, steal an egg, and leave without explaining himself. Asking questions wouldn't get me anywhere, so I pick up my watering pail and get to work. While milking Poppy, I see an inbox item, and it turns out that my 40th wonder for reaching max LP with 50 animals has arrived. Then it's time for more orchard work. I collect my last harvest of oranges, peaches, and bananas, then cut down the trees and replace them with the S rank and blue versions. Over at the request board, Takakura and San has some stuff that they need me to get for them. I give San the wakasagi fish she needed to complete her request, then hook Takakura up with some fresh milk for his request. I've got no luck down at the dig site, so I spend the evening training Poncho, who is slowly but surely becoming a well-trained dog. I finish off day 56 by purchasing another sheep and fishing down by the bridge. Day 57 begins in the pasture, cleaning off some dirty animals. Then it's off to the birdhouse to say hello to our feathered friends. It started to rain, so you know I gotta dress the part, and a golden comb caps off a good day in the mines. Takakura has arrived with our newest sheep, who looks like a pony, if you ask me. After his trip to the city, Takakura is on babysitting duty once again, as he plays catch with Luna. The rain has subsided for the time being, so I can put on some normal clothes and give Pooey some more money, even though I caught him stealing eggs the other day. That evening, I spend some time watering my saplings, then I head on down to San's house, where I see a heated argument that ends with Kate running away to her room. San mentions that a little discipline for children never hurts, and I couldn't agree more. I start day 58 in the fields harvesting a berry toma and emptying out my seed maker. With that berry toma, I can finally make the tasty juice that Chris requested the first day of spring. With an orange, berry toma, and tomato, it's all ready to go. It's a van day today, so I make sure I trim all my sheep and then kill some time fishing by the bridge. Once Van opens his stall, I'm able to sell some goods for an eye-watering 61,000 gold. With my profits, I decided it's finally time to take the plunge and begin my dairy operation and buy myself a female star cow. Chris was finally back from the city, so I ran over to her to give her the tasty juice I made, and I actually got a pretty cool reward. This super trendy Christmas sweater that I will definitely wear when it starts snowing. To finish the day off, I ran into San and Chris having a little ladies chat by the well next to the cafe. They talk about the weather, how perfect the valley is to raise kids, and just how nice and safe it is to live here, before going home for the evening. I got a whole bunch of crops ready for harvest on day 59. I'm not a psychopath, so I clean my animals and make sure that my seed maker is empty before hitting up the mines looking for golden objects. That afternoon, Takakura came back from the city, star cow in hand, and I decided to name her Pegasus. I picked up the happy lamps for the final time this year, and then I went over to the Harvest Sprite hut to pick up the bibimbap recipe. Since that was unlocked, I also got a new request from Charlie to make it for him. I got myself in the kitchen, whipped it up, then delivered it to him post-haste. Another outfit was my reward, and I loved these painters overall so much, I decided to put them on right then and there. Hopefully Luna doesn't mind wet paint on my clothes. Speaking of which, Luna is finally at full friendship points, so it's nice to know that my daughter doesn't hate me. The rest of the evening was spent down at the swamp, doing some fishing, and then turning some flowers into fertilizer and restocking the spreaders. I've got another chick freshly hatched on day 60. I'm running out of P names, so Pelly it is, I guess. Extra shout out to Pelly for getting me the newborn symphony wonder. In the fields, I've got my new tree saplings to water and some ripe crops ready for harvest. I also need to till out some new squares for the fall crops. Our newest sheep friends need some fodder plus, and my seed maker is bursting at the seams with banana seeds. I went to go check up on Hugh, and he seemed pretty deep in thought. He's adamant that he totally doesn't like Kate at all, but I see right through you, Hugh. He doesn't like that I know him so well as his oldest friend. I learned the sushi recipe from the Harvest Prize today, so I decided to give cooking that a spin. It's still not as useful as sashimi, though. I did some fishing on the bridge and donated some extra money to Pooey before saying goodnight to all my sheep friends. Garrett came back from town super late today, so I stayed up to give him some milk, which he liked so much, he became my new best friend. Day 61, the first day of fall in year 2, begins by planting a whole bunch of seeds in the field. I decided to change up my outfit to be more seasonal, and then I spent some more time with Luna. I hear a knock on my door, and it's Romana outside asking me if I can keep this cat she found. I'm a cat person, so of course I accept and name our new furry friend Ponyo. Ponyo loves ham, but she doesn't love me. Yet. I checked the request board, and we've got a massive one from Vesta, where she'll trade me a melon for 5 wool, which is about 15,000 gold. You don't have to ask me twice to take your money, Vesta. Fun fact, you can actually take your cat inside your house, which you couldn't do in the original game, so that's nice for Ponyo. I'm back in the kitchen making a tamakara salad for Baddock, then is off to steal money from Vesta, completing her request. I'm starting to feel like I work for Uber Eats or something, delivering all these products to people. But I get a nice little reward wonder for completing 30 requests. Now that it's fall, I can collect more sage soils. Then I'm down in the mines where I find not 1 golden fork, but 2 golden forks in the same digging session. I made about 20,000 gold today, so I treated Pooey to a share of my future profits. I spend the evening milking Poppy, and then spent some time down at the Goddess Pond, where the Harvest Sprites join me as the Harvest Goddess smacks her head on something, trying to get out of the pond. I guess I have to find more wonders to get her out safely. To finish the day off, I collected the Trick Blues down by the swamp. We pick up on day 62 doing some crop hybrids with Vinny. In this session, I make a couple more 2nd generation tree hybrids and upgrade them to S rank before finally getting them planted in the orchard. Pegasus is finally mature enough to give milk, so we collect our first batch of star milk, then head out to the pasture to cut down some grass for fodder. The only other interesting thing that happened today was a little cutscene with Daryl. He's trying to utilize rainwater to provide a sustainable, healthy form of drinking water for the village. I've seen how all his other experiments have gone, and hightail it out of there before anything can explode in my face. I'm in the coop to start day 63, just checking out on our new duck pals. After checking on all the barn animals, Porridge is pregnant, so looks like we're going to have even more sheep. Now is the moment you've all been waiting for. After giving Charlie an oar, he is now my best friend, the last villager I needed to befriend. I now have full friendship meters with every person in town. The good news keeps rolling in, as it's a van day, and I can sell my goods to him for a new record of 82,000 gold. Wait, I forgot I had extra stuff. And that sale takes us up to a grand total of 112,000 gold. What good is money if you don't spend it? So I buy myself a new outfit, a new marble cow, and the amazing field upgrade. I cap off an exciting day by training up Poncho some more, collecting some fallen fruit from the orchard, watering the crops, and fishing, working towards those 500 catches. I throw on my brand new outfit on day 64, and then it's off to the ledger to order myself a brand new brown cow. My saplings need to be watered, and my barn animals need to be cleaned and get milked, before spending some more quality time with everyone's favorite dog. That afternoon is spent in the dig site, where I find myself a golden fork, before cleaning out my seed maker. The newest addition to the barn has arrived, and I name our new marble cow Pearl, which I think is a perfect fit. The rest of day 64 is spent cuddling Luna, picking up some blue apples, and doing more dog training, where Poncho has finally mastered the spin move. Takakura has got me up early on day 65 to show me our newly created amazing field. Now we have quadruple the space to grow crops. Speaking of crops, I've got to harvest some blue tomatoes and make sure the birds are well fed, before hanging out with Poncho some more, who has now mastered all the tricks outside of jumping. Then it's down to the waterfall to collect some sage soil flowers and dig up a golden comb. Takakura has finally arrived back from the city with another new cow. This brown cow looks like a pine cone to me. Pooey gets his daily dollar down by the bridge, and Daryl's roped me into yet another experiment. Solar Energy is the name of the game, and I've seen this song and dance before, but against my better judgment, I stayed to support my friend in his testing. Of course, everything that can go wrong does go wrong with Daryl, and he blows his power source. I capped the day off by doing some fishing at the swamp and some crop harvesting, before doing my fatherly duties by giving Luna a bath. I guess the far room is the one with the bathtub in it, and so while Lumina is hard at work in the kitchen, I get Luna all squeaky clean and ready for bed. I start day 66 in the orchard collecting the final crop of fruit for this fall season. Then I'm loving on my barn animals in the pasture. I've got some new requests from Sebastian and Pooey. These are pretty easy, so I beeline it to Pooey and give him his catfish, then head over to the villa and give Sebastian the milk he wants. I've got some space in the regular field, so I get some crops planted, and then it's over to Vinny to do some tree fruit hybridizing. I won't bore you by showing all the combinations, but I finished off a good amount of second generation tree seeds that you can see here, and then I turned them into S rank. I get a couple of those planted and watered in the orchard, and then spend some quality time with Luna, and finish off the day at the beach, fishing up some tuna. That rhymed. I changed into my raincoat since it's coming down the morning of day 67. I make sure to check on my large animals, only for the rain to dissipate while I'm harvesting some sweet potatoes. I put my raincoat back in the dresser and get back into the field to plant some more crops. I learned a new recipe for kavayaki grilled fish, so I decided to try that out. Still not as good as sashimi. And I spent the entire rest of the day down at the beach fishing. You can even see day turn to night. On day 68, I realized I missed the harvest banquet, which is super sad personally because I won't be able to see that cutscene with a baby Luna. I work out my grief by chopping down some ripe strawberries and milking Pearl and Pinecone for the first time as they're finally mature. Van is in town again, so I guess a little extra money in my pocket will soothe my soul. How does an extra 84,000 gold sound? The Harvest Sprites definitely like the sound of that, since I got another wonder for earning 500,000 gold. I do some retail therapy and purchase a fertilizer spreader for the amazing field, then spend the entire afternoon drinking, eating, and plowing, and then some more drinking, eating, and plowing to get the new amazing field ready for planting. What felt like a long day was finished off by cuddling Luna and doing even more fishing. I'm getting the new saplings wet on day 69, then harvesting some carrots before checking on all my sheep friends. My seed maker is looking a tad empty, so I get that rectified, then start on my big hybrid crop adventure. If I showed you every combination, this day would be well over 10 minutes long. So here is every second generation crop you can make in the game. If you want to know more about how to make these, check out the link to the hybrid crop guide I used in the description below. Also, the Harvest Sprites provided some proof that I discovered all the second gen hybrid crops, including trees, with this wonder, my 44th, marking the halfway point to get all 88 wonders. That afternoon is spent collecting sage soils, unearthing a golden fork as well as a golden comb from the dig site, then picking up a final round of trick blues before finishing the day milking Pegasus. Takakura has got our new fertilizer spreader ready for the amazing field on day 70, the final day of fall. Since it's snowing, I throw on my Christmas jumper and get to work, which begins using some Happy Lamp seeds on my hybrid crops that won't grow in the current season. These red flowers that you can find in the summer, combined with any crop using Vinny, make them able to be planted in any season. I get every single hybrid crop in my inventory, get the fertilizer spreader stocked up, and begin planting all 28 of the second generation crops in my amazing field, getting them all properly watered. Now that the great planting has finished, I can spend some time trimming up my sheep and harvesting the last crop of fall plants in the regular field. Now that my amazing field will be utilized for crops, I can expand my orchard to the regular field. After doing all that farm work, Lumina says the soil appears healthy, and I couldn't agree more. I finish off this final day of fall by foraging for mushrooms and milking Poppy. The winter season and day 71 begins by watering our hybrid crops, planting some blue carrots, and cuddling our sheep in the pasture. Over at the request board, Daryl and Tay need some stuff, so I get into the kitchen and whip up Tay's egg salad, which I get delivered to him post-haste. After collecting some fertilizer and the shipped flowers, I run into Daryl's house to give him the carrot he requested, and he's in the midst of another experiment. I tried to leave, but he wasn't having any of that. Even after listening to his explanation, I decided to turn tail and run, which was a good decision, I think. Now that that cutscene is finally over, I can complete Daryl's request and give him that carrot. The rest of the day is spent collecting upseeds, seeing the Chihuahua levitating in the dig site, milking pine cone, and fishing at the goddess pond. I noticed these trees are growing very quickly on day 72, and they should be fully grown in no time. Speaking of fully grown, Pegasus needs to be milked and Porridge needs to be isolated since she will be giving birth soon. I spent some time working with Poncho on his jumping skills, which gets him up to level 4. I then clear out my seed maker, fish down by the swamp with my turtle friend, then hit up Sebastian, where he has a gift to give me, a music disc. I finish out the day by watering crops in the big field, and then by following Baddock into the forest. He talks with Muku about a young girl that he worked with who had a nasty disease. That disease made its way up to his eye, which he had to give up to contain it. He then goes on to try and take off Muku's costume to give him some medicine, which didn't work. We pick up on day 73 in the pasture petting Pegasus, and then discovering that Paula has had her lamb. The calf looks like a Pico to me. I spend the morning cleaning off Nina's grave, which I still can't get a perfect score, and then I head down to Van's stall. After this round of sales, I managed to get around 120,000 gold, and decide to buy the Silver Milker and Silver Clippers. With the leftover funds, I pick up the final fertilizer spreader, which won't be used for really anything, it's really for aesthetic reasons only. I can't forget to pick up the upseeds, of course, and then I surprise Sebastian at the villa. He's pondering that in his death, who will take care of the ladies? And I assure him, I will. Then it's off to do some fishing down by the swamp, some holiday-inspired giving to Pui, and then collecting some fruit at my orchard. Now that we've finished off the 2nd generation hybrid trees, it's finally time to take my first step into 3rd generation hybrids by combining a banana and a banorange to create a brand new type of tree seed that I get to name, since Vinny has never seen it before. I take tree number 4, that looks like a durian to me, and name it a durian. The morning of day 74, I get my S-ranked durian seed planted, then go to the coop to check up on my chickens before filling up my seed maker for the day. I got 0 golden object luck down at the dig site, so I cut my losses and go fishing instead. Pui is still accepting donations, so I oblige, then spend some time with Luna and hope she doesn't end up like Pui. Inside the barn, it looks like Ponzu is pregnant, and surprise, surprise, Polly is pregnant as well. I guess Takakura cut down my entire orchard to show me the fertilizer spreader that I bought on day 75. That's a joke, by the way, it's just a little glitch. He didn't cut down my orchard, it's fine. The final crop that will grow in my normal field is harvested, and then I make some more fertilizer from collected flowers. That fertilizer goes into the spreader for the amazing field, and then I get to work milking my cows and shearing my sheep. A nice and full seed maker gets emptied, and I have to remember tonight is the Starlight concert. I pick up an upseed behind Gordy's trailer and renew my stock of fertilizer flowers before spending the afternoon fishing. Before the festival, I get my crops nice and moist. Then meet up with Lumina down by Gustafa's house. Gustafa, the white boy, plays his funky music, and we get more shooting stars to wish upon. This year, I wish that Luna would take an interest in farming. The morning of day 76 is spent collecting fruit from the orchard, washing off the dirt from Pearl, and training Poncho's jumping skills, which are finally at max level. We now have a fully trained dog. I went down to the dig site and got myself a golden fork. Then, and I've sped up the footage here, I got another golden object in the same exact square. What are the odds of that? Epic digging moment aside, I felt important to show you that you can't get recipes the day after a festival. And then it's off to the request board where Garrett and Lou need some stuff. Luna gets herself a cuddle and Lou gets herself a fish. Then it's back to the fields to water crops. I end the day by giving Pui some money, receiving a music disc present from Kate, and then completing her father's request by giving him an egg. All these new trees need water on day 77. And my little sheep friend needs a trip to the salon to get her hair washed and trimmed. It's been a while since my last barn update, so here are all our current barn animals and their LP levels. You can pause wherever you want if you want to see more details. Speaking of barn animals, Porridge has given birth, and this boy lamb looks like a puck to me. I fill out our new fertilizer spreader and then head into the kitchen and make a grilled sweet potato before spending the afternoon picking up flowers and fishing. I put a lid on day 77 by watering and harvesting some crops and scything out some fodder for our expanding barn population. I start day 78 in the seed maker, which is bursting with S-rank crops. I get the machine refilled with orange and peaches and get some second-gen crops harvested, making sure all my pregnant sheep are feeling good, hitting up the chicken coop to restock their feed pan, and spent the rest of the morning fishing, waiting for Van to open his shop. Once he got that stall finally open, I was able to coerce about 81,000 gold out of him, which went directly into upgrading my chicken coop. I gotta make all that money back somehow, so it's back into the fields to harvest my crops. Then I finish off the day by giving Luna some love, cooking up some mashed potatoes, and watching Lumina put Luna to bed. Day 79 is a short one, so let's not get too deep in the weeds. I did some crop watering, some cow milking, and some golden egg hunting before finding out that the harvest sprites don't have any more recipes for me. I collected another upseed flower and spent the rest of the day fishing. 2 days after I bought it, my chicken coop has received its expansion on day 80, the final day of year 2. I got lots of crops to harvest since it's the last day of winter, and I placed my hybrids in the seed maker. This new coop upgrade comes with 2 incubators, so I get those going. And here's an update on all my birds. Again, you can pause the video if you want to see more details. Remember that one time I got 2 golden objects in the same square? Well, it happened again. And here's the footage to prove it. I finish off this final day by harvesting some more crops and showing off baby Luna to Vesta. In fact, I spent the entire evening running around, showing her to anybody who would listen, and playing with her, since I'll never be able to carry her like this ever again. As we move into chapter 3, it looks like Luna is really enjoying singing her songs. Lumina asked me if she could be a little virtuoso, and I agree since the other option looked like it would be a really rude thing to say about a child. In the years between chapter 2 and 3, Luna has grown up to become a precocious little individual. She likes hanging out with Poncho and fishing, just like me. I also built onto the house and made her her own room. It looks way better than our room, in my opinion. We pick back up on day 81 in earnest in the coop as a new female duckling has been hatched. I named her Peepin', but honestly it looks more like Peepen, which is a disgusting realization. New year means new me, so I put on a fresh set of clothes and check on the mail, where I'm awarded with a new wonder for not dying. My seed maker hasn't been emptied in years, so I get that cleaned out and start cutting down all the carrots I forgot to harvest on day 80. It's never fun to see my failures, but I get them covered up with new seeds anyways. I get Pinecone and Pegasus milked, and then check out Luna's interests and skills now that she's grown up a little bit. Down at the dig site, we have new artifacts to collect. I get the golden fish and this red necklace ornament looking thingy. There's a ton of flowers in the spring, so I get those collected for fertilizer, and then swing by Pooey, who is still as shameless as ever. That dig site trip nets me another wonder for finding 3 golden artifacts, and then I finish off the day by collecting the new requests from Gary, Charlie, and Baddock, and watering my new spring crops. I'm back in the fields harvesting some blue strawberries on day 82, then it's off to the pasture to snip some hairs off my sheepy boys. In the chicken coop, I make sure to pet my birds, and then it's off to the kitchen to make myself some marinade. I then got the most heartbreaking cutscene in the entire game. I'm not even gonna narrate this part, just watch it and feel sad like I did. Now that I'm sad, I have to complete Gary's request for a blue crop. Then it's over to the Pyro Bros hut to give Charlie the marinade I just cooked up. While chatting with Cole, he decided to give me an unused explosive. Here it is in my inventory if you don't believe me. Also, I can finally play territory capture with Cole, and you wouldn't think it, but he's even worse than his brother. Down at the dig site, I finish off the chapter 3 artifacts by finding this green looking ore, a weird nautilus shell looking thing, and the stone tablet for this chapter. I also got another wonder for finding this tablet. Poppy's looking a little worse for wear, so I give her a good cleaning before doing some sheep shearing. An unfortunate reality is that one of our new lambs will have to be sold, and Puck is the one that has to go. For those of you who are sad, don't worry, Puck will make a return. I just have a special surprise for you guys tomorrow. Speaking of surprises, Takakura got us a little gift for befriending everyone in the valley. It's a music disc, my favorite disc in the game, which also gets us another wonder for having 10 records. I speed run through my farm chores of watering crops and taking care of ducks the morning of day 83. Luna seems to like flowers, so I give her one before heading over to Van's stall to sell off my wares for just under 90,000 gold. With this windfall of cash, I purchase a new outfit, a new house interior, and 2 power drinks to give to Baddock and complete his request from day 81. My reward for giving him those drinks is a book on local plant life that fits nicely in my bookcase. Remember that surprise I was talking about yesterday? Well, I had to sell Puck to make room for the goat. I managed to haggle Van down to 36,000 gold for the goat, and he delivered her to the farm, where I named her Pepis. If you know, you know. Down at the beach, Carter rewarded me for all my efforts in the dig site with yet another music disc, and Sully decided he wanted to give me his gold medal. Unfortunately, I can't melt it down and sell it to Van, but it's the thought that counts. Our kind of sort of grandmother, grand auntie-in-law, Romana, also has a gift for us, an odd sheet music, which I guess I'll give to Lamina. Back at the beach, I guess Pooey has finally gotten tired of asking for money since he only seems to ask me if I'm his friend now. And of course I am. An exciting day 83 is capped off by doing some crop watering and fruit picking in the orchard. I got some dirty cows on day 84, so I get Pearl cleaned and the crops watered before showing Luna the book that Baddock gave me yesterday. She seems to really enjoy reading about local flowers and decides to run off to the forest to look for what she saw in the book. Then it's back to work, filling out the feed pans in the chicken coop. With a lot more space in the regular field now, it's time to make more 3rd gen tree seeds with Vinny. I start with tree number 5, which gets renamed to a coconut, then combine a couple more to get tree 3, which I guess looks like a persimmon. Of course, I get those upgraded to S rank and then plant them in the new orchard. That afternoon, I dig up a golden fork in the mines and then plant some more crops in the big field. While I was running around to do some fishing, I ran into Molly down at the bridge. I guess she was dumped again, which is sad to hear, but I'm always down to listen to the problems of my friends. Now I could finally get down to some fishing, where I finally caught the huge spotted char I was after. I finished off the day by accepting an old necklace from Best Girl Flora, and here it is in my inventory for those of you who want a good look at it. The morning of day 85, I walked into Luna's room to see she had a weird looking box. She thinks there's a treasure map in there, and I mentioned that there may be something else. She asked what I think is inside, but you know, your boy doesn't got x-ray vision, so how would I know? She mentions that there's a cool map of the world in the bathroom that could be useful for adventures, and she runs off to go memorize it. That little interaction really bumped up her academics interest. Back on the farm, we have another hen that I named Peony, and then we get down to taking care of my sheep and watering all the crops. A lovely spring day is then interrupted as I see Pooey stealing eggs from my coop. Lucky for him, I found a golden fish from the dig site to correct my mood. I went off to collect some flowers by Nina's grave, and when I returned to the farm, I found Luna and Poncho just playing. After an exciting day, Luna was a little tuckered out, so she took a nice little nap in the shade with Poncho. I would love to take a nap. But I got cows to milk, and furniture to move around so that I can put in this new rug. Fishing, to end the day, always relaxes me though. On day 86, we take Polly and isolate her since she'll be giving birth soon, and then we do the same with Ponzu and the other isolation pen. My 3rd gen seedlings need to be watered, and the fruits from the old orchard need to be gathered. Then it's down to the mines to dig up some golden artifacts. I got 2 golden combs today, which is pretty pog if you ask me. Card and Sebastian have some requests for me, and then the harvest sprites interrupt my day by letting me know we have another rooster. I'm running out of P words for money, so pasta it is. Sebastian only asked for a fish, and that's a pretty easy request to grant. Carter only needed some B rank star milk, and I've got plenty of that. With those 2 requests complete, that is now 40 requests done and dusted. I finish off day 86 in the fields, harvesting some crops, putting those crops in the seed maker, and then filling in the barren spots with new seeds. Let's speed run through day 87. I harvest the ripe tomatoes, fill up the chicken coop with feed, unearth a golden fork at the dig site, collect some spring flowers for fertilizer, do some fishing down at the bridge, and then finish the day watering the crops in my big field. Day 88 is also quick, but much more exciting, as we start by harvesting some crops in the big field and milking Pepis for that lucrative goat's milk. Van is in town today, and all my hard work has bestowed upon me 113,000 gold from the big guy, giving me just enough money to purchase the processing room. I celebrate this monumental occasion by fishing and watering crops, like a good farmer should. Can't stop, won't stop. Baby, I'm built different. Day 89 continues the theme of relatively quick days. I make sure Prince is a happy horse and check up on all my fluffy boys and girls. I sight down some ripe second-gen berries in the big field and spend the afternoon trying to dig in the mines. But Flora is just standing in the exact place I want to dig, so I can't. I got a little heated, so I relaxed by collecting some flowers. And then I went to the farm to load up on the seed maker. I got some marble milk out of the pearl, and I end the day by doing some fishing. Day 90, the last day of spring, is not short. I start in the coop with another hen to name. I'm really struggling for P names, so I guess Pinky it is. If you guys have any P names that I haven't used yet, leave them in a comment below and I might use one. I've got some trees to water, some ripe tomatoes that need harvesting, and a couple of dirty animals to clean off. And I'm off to the dig site, where my persistent digging is rewarded with a golden fish. Speaking of persistence, it's finally time to start making 3rd gen crop hybrids. I'll stick to the highlights here. I made crop 11, which looks like a bell, crop 19, which looks like a red lamp, crop 6, which looks like a leek. I ended up naming crop 9 a 𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷 because that's what the guide I'm using says it looks like. I named crop 17 a yam, and we finish off with crop 4, which is obviously an eggplant. These 3rd gen hybrids are called rare crops in this game, and the 6 I just made gives me another wonder. I utilize some happy lamps to plant these bad boys in the big field now, instead of whenever they're in season. And then I fill up the seed maker with more hybrid crops. I really want to make sure that these rare crops get to S rank, so I make some fertilizer and stuff all 905 pieces of it in the fertilizer spreader. And then finish off the day by doing some fishing and milking my cows. The first day of summer of year 3, day 91, begins in the field tilling squares and planting all of those rare seeds we made yesterday. It looks like one of Polly or Porridge has finally given birth, and Puck has finally returned. I check on Pearl in the pasture and clear out the seed maker before running into Pooey outside my house. It seems like he has an egg to give me, so I take it off his hands and he just leaves. After that, whoever didn't give birth yet between Polly or Porridge has their lamb, and I end up naming her Pint, since she's so small. And now we have a full expanded barn. For the 3rd time this playthrough, I was down in the mines digging up a golden object, and then I got another golden object in the exact same space. I guess I'm a pretty lucky guy for it to happen 3 times. Over at the request board, Flora and Gavin are in need of my assistance, but I decided to collect some happy lamps and put their needs on the back burner. When I came home, Luna asked me if I love Lumina a whole lot, and there's only one right answer to this question. When Luna asked Lumina the same question, she seemed surprised. She doesn't answer it and decides it's time for Luna to take a bath, so I head out to the fields and water crops to end the day. The firework festival headlines day 92, so I get outside and get the crops watered before having another rooster be hatched. His name is Plump. I can just feel the money rolling in as I get Pegasus milked and shear off some wool from the sheep. Durian are in season, so I get to shake in the tree and pick up my first rare fruits. I thought getting these durians would refresh the Harvest Sprites recipe list thingy, but no dice. Pooey is back with another gift for me. This time he has a mushroom in tow, and I gladly accept it as he walks away. 2 good mining days in a row are capped off by a golden fish and a golden comb, and Luna gets herself a pretty flower. Flora gets some grapes as part of her request, and I get to water some crops as the sun sets. I'm joined by Lumina, Luna, and Takakura down at the beach as we have a lovely night watching Charlie and Cole set off their fireworks. Van comes to town on day 93, so I water my crops, check up on my birds, and shake off any fruit I can before hitting up the stall and getting 103,000 gold. I decided to purchase the golden watering can as well as the golden hoe for a combined 100,000, and this watering can and hoe are insane. I can't even believe that there's a level up from gold. Way back when, Gavin requested a melon salad, so I'm in the kitchen and I'm whipping that up. Making that dish awarded me my 50-second wonder for cooking 20 dishes. I then gave Gavin a salad and completed that request. Vinny seemed lonely, so I decided to make some more rare trees. Tree 2 became a kiwi, tree 6 became a chestnut, and tree 7 is a star. I finished off with tree 8, and it looks like a Granny Smith apple, so I just named it a Granny. I got all these trees upgraded to S rank, collected my wonder for discovering 10 rare crops, and then got those seeds planted. I spent the remainder of the day fishing and milking my cows. 6 days after putting in the order, Takakura revealed my brand new processing room on day 94. You can use these machines to make butter and cheese. With that, I have my 54th wonder and every farm facility. Exciting milestone over. We're back. We're watering a whole bunch of crops at the same time, and we're scything down some ripe tomatoes and saying hello to Peppers. Fun fact about the processing room, if you turn marble milk into cheese, it levels up that rank. For example, I put in B rank marble milk, and A rank cheese gets spits out. The same can be said for brown milk and butter. B rank brown milk goes in, and A rank butter comes out. Pretty neat. You know what's not neat? Fishing. I do so much fishing, it's getting boring. I finish out the day by shaking some fruit off my trees, watering a bunch of crops at light speed, and cutting down some grass for animal fodder. I completely forgot to change my outfit, so I get on the painter's overalls and get my butt into the fields to harvest some tomatoes on day 95. I give my sheepy boy a little cuddle and decided that it's been a while since I showed you guys my barn animals, so here they all are. Another rooster has been hatched in the chicken coop, so I decided to name it Poison because that's what men are. But my ducks are perfect. Also, here are the coop animals too if you want to pause and check them out. I spent a rainy afternoon down in the dig site getting a golden comb, then went to collect some happy lamp flowers. Daryl is up to his old tricks again and caught me before I was able to leave. I tell him I have a prior engagement, but he's persistent and I give up. This time around, he's trying to recycle electronics, but I've seen this rodeo before and attempt to flee, but I get caught, and he guilt trips me into coming back and watching his experiment fail gloriously. My man really needs a win, for real. Back on the farm, I decide to finish off the rare tree combos and make tree 9, which I name an 𝐋𝐢𝐬𝐿, and tree 1, which looks like a fig. With those creations, we have made 15 rare crops, and I get those trees planted and fill up the seed maker with more fruit. That evening, Luna gets herself a nice flower, I spend some time fishing at the bridge, and then finish my chores by plowing the big field. I end the day in the kitchen doing some baking, whipping up a strawberry pie and a veggie cake. Very similar to day 88, day 96 is quick but exciting. I start by leveling up on my animals, then hitting the dig site where I collect a golden fork and a golden comb. While I'm at the waterfall, I do some fishing, and then finally spot the owl that everyone has been talking to me about on stream. In the evening, I wash off Poppy, and then cut down the turnips that decided to quit on me. Fortunately, my red lamp stayed alive, and now I can finally get more recipes since I harvested a rare crop. Day 97 begins in the seed maker as I empty out all the fruits I put in there yesterday and fill her up with rare and hybrid crops. Watering has gotten super easy thanks to this new watering can, and my good time is ruined as the harvest sprites alert me to a male duckling that just hatched, whom I named Plop. I make sure to give some love to all my feathered friends, then hit up Gustafa's house where he gives me the bongo drum. You can see in my inventory it's called a tum-tum drum, but I'm gonna call it bongos. I've got more requests today as Baddock and Sully need a gopher, so I get Sully the catfish he wanted, and then provided Baddock with some milk. The Harvest Sprites got a new recipe for us, and I've got some fishing to do. I got a brand new rare crop, the bell, ready for harvest, but it was tough to cut this one down since it made really nice music. I finished the day off by cleaning a dirty sheep. Van's in town for the last time in these 100 days on day 98. And I'm in the field, harvesting crops in preparation. In the coop, we got a nice golden egg, and add it to the pile of stuff I'm going to sell to him. I then head on over to the processing room to turn all of my milk into cheese and butter for some more profits. After checking in on the wife and kid, I found a fish I've never seen outside my door. It looks like Pooey dropped it off for me. How we caught it, I'll never know because I can't even catch it yet. The grass is getting a bit long, so I get that cut down, and then it's off to Van's to sell my goods for a grand total of 106,000 gold, officially putting me over the 1 million gold earned in this 100 days. I decided to purchase the golden scythe, but it won't be super useful until I have a whole bunch of crops ready for it at one time. It does work amazingly for large swaths of grass though. Since he didn't have the golden fishing rod yet, I spent my afternoon fishing only for him to still not offer it when I returned. I settled for the golden milking tool, which is amazing. When you have it out, all the cows get a little exclamation point above their heads when you get close enough, and then you can milk all of them at once. It's honestly game-changing. Speaking of game-changing, I caught the large stringfish. I kind of hoped it would be the huge one, though. Day 99 and the penultimate day of this video begins in the field, using the golden scythe to the best of its abilities. I continue that theme with our brand spanking new golden milker, but it ends when I use the silver shearing tool. I wonder if the golden one does what the milker does. That would be pretty sweet. Anyways, I make sure to let my birds know I love them, then empty out my seed maker. I ended up getting a lot of seeds from requests, so I just ended up giving them to Luna. Today is the last day I get happy lamps, so I hoover those up and then hit the harvest sprite's hut to get another recipe. I was able to double up on golden objects once again in the mines, and then I finished the day by prepping the big field for fall, doing some fishing down by the swamp, and then harvesting some rare and blue crops. Alrighty folks, it's day 100, and it only felt right to put on the classic farmer's clothes for today. On days like today, I love doing the farm work, even though it's the most draining part of every day. All the watering, harvesting, and soil tilling just doesn't seem boring. The harvest goddess even showered us with luck, as we get a female duckling who I named Paxel. The golden milker is still the best thing ever, and I'm sure my chickens think the same about me as I give them sustenance. The harvest sprites give us one last recipe. I managed to find a golden fork in the dig site, and I say hello to Nina for one last time of this video. I took a mega huge W against Cole in territory capture, then had a nice chat with San where she caught Gordy and Nami shooting the breeze. She even went as far to do a spot-on impression of Gordy, if I'm being honest. Over at the cafe, Gavin hooks me up with a delicious club sandwich, and then I spend the afternoon harvesting some hybrid crops and gifting some leftover seeds to Luna. I felt it was only right to hang out with Vinny, so we made some rare crops. Crop 1 is apparently a calabash. Crop 2 kind of looks like a squash. Crop 3 is most definitely a peanut. And crop 25 reminds me of turmeric root. After doing a good amount of fishing down by the swamp, I caught my white whale for these 100 days, the huge stringfish. And I ended day 100 by talking to all my animals and getting one last milking session in before heading to bed. I pick up on day 101 by, of course, putting on some autumn-themed threads and getting into the crop fields. Out in the amazing field, I get a whole bunch of fall crops planted and subsequently watered. Of course, I need to say hello to all my animals, and I totally forgot how awesome that the golden milking tool is. Then it's over to the coop to show some love to my feathered friends. Of course, I had to check out the harvest sprites and pick up the first recipe of this chunk of 100 days, kakiyagi tempura. Then it's over to the dig site to look for some more golden artifacts. San and Takakura posted some requests today, so I picked those up and ran over to the kitchen to whip up some heartwarming soup. I completed San's request for a hybrid crop, and then caught Pooey trying to shake down Garrett at the bridge. Takakura gets his soup, and I finished day 101 by doing some fishing. Even though a lot of you guys and gals told me that I don't have to, it feels wrong not to water the trees. So I started day 102 by doing exactly that. I gather some golden wool for my sheep friends, then visit Cole to take his lunch money in a game of territory capture. No one is safe from me in this game, as I also beat Charlie while I'm at it. I pick up another recipe from the harvest sprites, then do some fishing down at the beach with Gordy. I end day 102 by collecting some coconut fruit by shaking the tree in the orchard. Day 103 begins by using my golden watering can to get all my plants nice and hydrated. Then, it's off to the pasture to milk all of my animals and shear off even more wool from my fluffy boys. These birds go through food super quick, so I get that refilled, then decide that this coop isn't big enough for 2 roosters, and get plump sold off to the highest bidder. Since Van is in town today, I hit up the processing room and make some cheese and butter, and then I give Luna some carrot seeds that I was gifted earlier for completing some requests. The harvest sprites give me the rare salad recipe, and then it's over to Van's stall to sell my produce for a whopping 128,000 G. I could not pick up this outfit that Van is selling, and I also exchanged my silver fishing rod for a golden one and purchased the golden clippers. Now I finally have an entire row of tools that are golden. I instantly put my new fishing rod to use down at the beach, and then finish this day off by watering my crops once again. I start off day 104 in the chicken coop by giving some love to my birds, and then collecting a golden egg. Pasta is finally grown up, so I get him sold away. Then it's over to the pasture to use my new golden shears, which aren't as powerful as the golden milker, to great disappointment. In the kitchen, Luna gets herself some more seeds. Then I make my way down to the dig site to look for more expensive trinkets. As I was doing some fishing at the goddess pond, I pulled up my first ever new fish with the goldenrod, a bonnie tongue, which coincidentally happened to be the huge variation, instantly completing that fish in the encyclopedia. On day 105, I throw on my newly purchased outfit, and your boy is just looking drip down from head to toe, just icy. I completely forgot today was the Harvest Festival, so I grab a durian from storage, pick up some more tree fruits, and hit up the dig site before heading on over to the layover inn to show Lou what I've got for the pot. Hopefully everyone at the function loves some stinky durian soup. That afternoon, I fished up the beach water dweller that only a goldenrod can get, a langoust, then got myself a delicious coffee at Gavin's Cafe. Plop the duck has finally come of age, so I get him sold, and then I finish this day off by milking all my animals a second time. I'm right back in the chicken coop feeding these hungry birds on day 106. All these crops in the amazing field are coming in quite nicely. Then it's over to the shipping bin, where my ability to do math is tested. I've learned that if you want to make the most money using tree fruits, you need to turn first and second gen tree fruits into seeds using the seed maker, and sell the fruits of the third gen trees, since 2 third gen seeds are priced ridiculously lower than a fully grown third gen fruit. So a general rule of thumb is that first and second gen tree fruits go into the seed maker, and third gen fruits are sold as is. That being said, I did end up turning one of my Granny Smith apples into seeds to plant and finish off my orchard, since it's the most profitable third gen tree fruit. I got myself a golden fork down at the dig site, then accepted some requests from Cole and Gary. These requests were pretty easy to complete, as Gary only wanted a fish and Cole only needed some milk, of which I have plenty of both. I finished day 106 by harvesting my first bundle of crops for this set of 100 days, then fishing down by the bridge where I pulled up an unagi, which was the final fish I needed to catch every last type of fish in the game. And I collected my 56th wonder. On the morning of day 107, Takakura wakes me up to let me know that he's given Luna a cow-shaped piggy bank and has been letting her help out around the farm in exchange for some money. By all means, Takakura, you keep giving her that cash. Over at the crop fields, I collect some yams and sweet potatoes that are nice and ripe. And then I give all of my large animals some cuddles in the pasture. I spend the afternoon doing some artifact hunting in the dig site and officially catch every fish in the game by reeling up a king masu. The only reason I got that wonder the other day is because Pooey gifted me a king masu on day 98. So now I finally got one legit. I finish off this day by once again giving my crops their second water. The 8th day of the season means Van is coming to town. So I'm out in the pasture getting some milk, and then it's over to the orchard to collect some Granny Smiths to start day 108. Milk is great to sell, but cheese and butter almost always sell for more. The rule of thumb is you turn everything but star milk into cheese and butter. So I get all that milk transformed. I pick up another recipe from the Harvest Sprites, then give Luna some more seeds, before hanging out with Garrett by the river and doing some fishing. With all these items to sell, I was able to finesse almost 150,000 G from Van, so I decided to take some of those profits and finally buy the Springs in the Air music record. I ran back home to put that in the record player, then it's out to the crop fields to harvest a whole bunch of ripe second-gen hybrid crops. The rest of the day was spent hanging out with Gary and Flora, doing even more fishing by the bridge. It's starting to get a little frigid in Forgotten Valley, so I threw on my winter coat for day 109. It might be rude, but I need the wool from my sheep, even if it's getting cold outside. Of course, the plants get watered, and all the ripe crops, which as we get closer and closer to the end of the season are plentiful, get cut down and collected. That afternoon, I was finally able to catch a lil unagi, which was surprisingly difficult, and I had more crops ready for harvest. So I got those sighted out. Then it's over to the dig site, where I decided to collect the gem soils, even though I have really no use for them nowadays. I collected some artifacts with Flora and Carter, and finished the day by doing some fishing, looking for that elusive, huge unagi. Day 110 and the final day of autumn in year 3 begins by collecting some milk under the falling snow. Even though there's moisture in the air, I still need to get these crops watered and the ripe straw blueies harvested. Then it's over to everyone's favorite plant, Vinny. After doing some chatting to get my friendship back up, I started creating some more 3rd gen hybrid crops. Starting with crop 21, which is renamed to a yellow lamp. Crop 22 becomes a purple lamp. Crop 35 is obviously a football. Crop 20 is a blue bulb. Crop 13 looks like a symbol to me. And crop 7 is apparently a soramame. Crop 28 looks like a piece of candy. Crop 31 gets to be called a teacup. Crop 29 definitely looks like a cookie. Crop 16 is a delicious red onion. Crop 39 is an artichoke, but that didn't fit in the text box, so artchoke it is. Crop 38 looks like one of those pumpkins that I would never eat. And if crop 35 is a football, crop 37 needs to be a hand egg. Basketball didn't fit in the text box, so crop 36 is the rock. Crop 33 becomes a disco ball with one L. Crop 34 is called a chochin, since that's what these little paper lanterns are called. Crop 32 is obviously a teapot. Crop 30 looks like a decadent donut. Crop 27 is a castanet. Crop 26 looks like an ocarina. I seriously considered calling crop 23 a gyat, but ultimately went against my better judgment and called it a mandrake. And finally, we end the hybrid extravaganza with crop 18, which I affectionately call an Ayo. If you know, you know. With all that hybridizing out of the way, I've officially collected 20 rare hybrids in my 57th wonder. The rest of this incredibly long day is capped off by collecting some artifacts at the dig site, harvesting some ripe crops in the field, putting them into the seed maker, fishing down at the beach, and then by making one more 3rd gen hybrid, crop 24, which becomes ginger. If you guys and gals have any questions about why I named these crops what I named them, or how to make them yourself, I'm following a guide that I'll have linked in the description. You could also leave a comment, and I'm happy to answer that. The first day of winter, day 111, begins by throwing on my favorite Christmas sweater and getting out into the field to plant some crops. I get everything watered and harvest the remaining ripe crops from the autumn planting, and then get a whole bunch of sheep washed up. After that, I hit up the request board to collect some errands from Lou and Garrett. As I was running back to the farm, I found Luna going the opposite way with her piggy bank that 𝐷𝐷𝐿𝐴 gave her. I went to intercept her, but she's far too busy to have a conversation. Of course, I'm gonna follow her, and she ends up having a very brief conversation with Gary by the bridge, before ending up on Vesta's farm. Apparently, Lumina has been sick, so Luna exchanges her hard-earned savings for a healthy tomato. Apparently, Lumina wasn't actually sick and was just having a coughing fit, which Luna interpreted as being ill. But this was still a very cute cutscene nonetheless. I'm back in the kitchen as I fix up a fish stew, and then I go complete Lou's request for a hybrid crop. This was my 50th completed request, awarding me with my 58th wonder. Now that it's wintertime, I had to say hello to my friend Muku Muku before fishing up a large king masu. I finished this day off by completing Garrett's request for that fish stew I made earlier. I had some super bad luck to start day 112, as not only is this chick a boy, but the duckling that was also born today is also a boy. Their names don't matter, but I went ahead and got Pedro sold off, and then I'm back in the field harvesting some ripe bluetomatoes and shaking down all the fruit from the fig tree. I caught Luna doing some fishing with one of my old rods down by the river, and then decided to do some more 3rd gen hybrid combos. Crop 15 is some fresh garlic. Crop 14 looks to be a whistle. Crop 12 becomes a maraca. Crop 8 is apparently ginseng, and crop 5 is definitely a pea. Once again, check out that link in the description to find the guide that I used for all my hybrid crops. I spent a good part of the afternoon fishing, then decided it's time to start tackling some recipes in the kitchen, starting with carpaccio. I made a caprese salad, mashed potatoes, a Cobb salad, grape pie, strawberry pie, melon pie, blue sky pie, ice cream, orange punch, blue jam, a lovely smoothie, fruit punch, fruit juice, a sweet smoothie, some thick juice, which I'm happy to say includes peaches, a sandwich, blue curry, and finally a mushroom gratin. With that, I've made a total of 40 dishes for my 59th and 60th wonders. Day 113 is another van day, so it begins by watering my crops in the field and harvesting some ripe carberries. Luna gets yet another seed, and then I say hello to some ducks and chickens at the coop. Because it is a van day, I am spending a load of time in the processing room, turning milk into butter and cheese, and I can't forget to butter up everyone's favorite rotund retail salesman. Like the gem soils from the autumn season, I really don't need to pick up the up seeds in the winter season. But this is your reminder that you should pick them up if you don't have the fertilizer spreader just yet. After showing Van all my goods, I'm able to negotiate a sell price of just over 143,000 G. Then it's back to the river to do more fishing. I finish off day 113 by collecting some oranges and peaches from my orchard. I start off day 114 in the pasture giving Pepis some love and cuddles, and then it's time to do my daily watering of crops and a singular tree. I know, I don't have to do it, but it's weird seeing the soil be so pale. The harvest sprites teach me how to make the mountain bowl, and then I go off and collect another upseed by Gordy's trailer. This short day is capped off by doing some relaxing fishing down at the beach. My personal favorite festival, the Starlight Festival, is today, day 115. So I get out into the pasture and take care of my fuzzy boys, then collect some figs and persimmons that have fallen from the trees in the orchard. Once again, these chickens have torn through their food, so I make sure to replace that before doing some golden artifact hunting over at the dig site. Fast forward to the Starlight concert that night, and we see the annual shooting stars. This year, like every year, I wish for Luna to take up an interest in farming and then go straight home and hit the hay. Luna woke me up on day 116, saying that she's going to feed the barn animals. I guess my wish last night actually worked. Unfortunately, she won't do that and water the crops, so I'm back in the fields to do that. Honestly, there wasn't too much to do today, so I spent most of it trying to catch a huge king masu over by the waterfall. Another chick has been hatched the morning of day 117, and I got lucky with a hen this time around, who I named Pixie. Now that I have 8 hens, I can finally sell off our first ever rooster, Preston, who we got all the way back over 100 days ago on day 14. I can't get too sentimental though, since I have some sheep to shear in the barn and some mushrooms to eat in the forest. I pick up the rare stew recipe from the Harvest Sprites, and then present Carter with my golden fish I found in his dig site, which he still doesn't see any value in. I got double lucky today, as not only did I get a duckling hatched, but this one is also a girl who I named Pongo. The rest of the day is spent fishing on the bridge, where I was finally able to reel in that huge unagi. I started day 118 as I do most days, by watering crops and harvesting the ones that have become ripe overnight. What's special about today is that one of my 3rd gen lamp crops is finally starting to come in. Another special thing about today is that Van is in town, so I'm in the processing room to make cheese and butter for those extra financial gains. I totally didn't forget to check the request board on days 116 and 117, so I could only pick up one errand from Tay, which was easy enough to complete. I was able to sell off all of my goods to Van for 133,000 G, as I save up for that 1 million G teddy bear. I spent the rest of the evening doing even more fishing down at the beach, where I reeled in a huge langoust. These plants are always really thirsty. I wish the snow weather condition actually watered them. I mean, there is moisture in the air. At least I can see some neat 3rd gen crops coming in on day 119. But it's been a while since I checked on the chickens, so I make sure my feathered friends are doing well, and then it's off to create some more fertilizer. It would appear that the animals of the pasture are eating a lot of grass. So I give the area a nice splattering of fertilizer to get the grass growing again, and then hit up the harvest sprites who don't have any new recipes for me. I guess I have to harvest even more 3rd gen crops. I spent some time looking for golden fish in the dig site, and speaking of fish, I reeled up the huge king masu that I've been looking for. With this fish, I now have a nice little star next to every fish that you can get with a golden rod in the encyclopedia. Back at the farm, my purple lamp crop is looking very nice and juicy, so I get it cut down to end the day. Day 120, the final day of the year, is super exciting, as after I water these crops, I can harvest my first ever 𝐿 crop, everyone's favorite white plump vegetable. Since today is the aforementioned final day of year 3, I decided to spend a lot of it with Luna. We did some fishing down by the river, but I was shortly interrupted by harvesting some crops, including a cookie, castanet, and donut. But then it was back to more father-daughter time in the forest, as we spent the afternoon inspecting the surrounding area and just enjoying the serenity offered by this magical place. Then we took a nice stroll and ended up back home, where we finished off the day. As we move into Chapter 4, Luna is still very interested in music. We even catch her singing a song with Gustafa down by his yurt. It seems she really has a knack for music, and Lumina asks me if I think she's found her passion. Now, I'm not one to push anything on my child that they don't enjoy, so I agree. Unfortunately, time waits for no man or woman, and Luna has grown up in front of our very eyes. She has turned from the cutest little bean sprout to the most persnickety of teenagers. Of course, she's still one with nature and loves to spend time with Poncho on the farm. Obviously, this house is starting to feel a little bit small, so I built on a private room for myself and Lumina. Getting back on the farm in earnest on day 121 means putting on the classic farmer's outfit and checking out the wrinkles that I've gained over the years. Any concerned parent will end up doing a bit of snooping on their child, so I read through Luna's diary as she starts to question my priorities as a father. Sadly, a lot of my crops didn't grow in time, so I'm left with the depressing task of clearing out the dead plants in the morning before making sure my cows and my goat are adequately milked. Maybe Luna's a little bit right about my priorities. The best thing about Chapter 4 is that I now have access to the requests that will reward me with goddess level tools. So I made sure to grab all of those requests off the board from Vesta, Pui, Romana, Gary, Tay, and Kate, and finish off my farm chores for the day. I get all the spring crops planted and watered, then hit up the chicken coop to feed the birds, which I'm slowly running out of feed for, so I get 30 units purchased, which should last me for a good long while. Vesta requested a scarlet salad, so I'm in the kitchen whipping that up, along with a strawberry shortcake for Kate. Some of my 3rd gen crops that survived the season transition are ready for harvest. This teacup, teapot, and candy crop should open up some more recipes from the harvest sprites. But before anything else can happen, I run into Molly, who is once again using me as free therapy. Apparently, her new boyfriend found out her age and decided to dump her. It's always so sad to see these cutscenes. I really hope she does find a man or woman soon. I did some more running around town and ended up seeing Luna, Romana, and Gary having a little chat at the Manor Gardens. They talk about getting older, but hearing Luna play music, like Lumina did, brings back some nice memories, so they go inside to play the piano. I originally came up here to start the New Year's Festival, so I get that underway by giving Sebastian the blue sky pie I made. Now I can focus on getting these goddess tools. Starting with Tay. I give him the butter he requested, and he tells me a story about some village in the mountains who were amazing ranchers, and how he got this milker from them. Anyways, I happily accept his gift and then finish up Pui's request for a golden object. I don't know where Pui found a goddess sickle, but I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. Speaking of gifts, Kate is next on the chopping block. She gets herself the delicious strawberry shortcake I whipped up in exchange for the goddess clippers. Hopefully these clippers have an interesting mechanic like the golden milker did. Speaking of milk, I head down to the cafe to get an oat milk latte and find Gary, who needed a fish. My reward for that hot, stinky pocket fish was the goddess fishing rod, which is beautifully adorned. Some might call it tacky, but I really enjoy the gold and cyan colors. I finish off the request train with the easier ones I picked up today, by giving Vesta the scarlet salad I made, and Baddock a fruit tree fruit. Then it's over to the pasture to test out my new toys. The Goddess Milker increases the radius from the golden version, which is pretty nice. But more importantly, I picked up 4 wonders for getting those tools, taking my total to 65 wonders. I spent the evening using my new goddess rod at the spring and ended up reeling in a golden axe. I guess this weapon belonged to the goddess underneath the pond, but she let me keep it, so I stuck it right on the mantle above the TV. Getting this item also got me my 66th wonder. Only 22 more to go. And just like that, I'm finally on day 122, where Lumina offers to water the fields for me, which is well appreciated. I also get to use my goddess shears for the first time, which double the yield of wool. Doubling my profits for 1 strawberry shortcake? I'll take that deal every time. Using my new fishing rod down by the beach netted me another neat object, a letter in a bottle. Turns out this letter is from my own daughter Luna, where she's definitely in the middle of some teenage angst. Another cast of the rod had me reel in another suspicious object. According to Tay, who was just watching me fish for some reason, this is the mythical sword of the hero. I don't really have much use for this since I'm but a humble farmer, so I mount it next to the axe I found last night. However, a bunch of good things did come out of catching that sword. I was able to finish up the fish section of the encyclopedia, and I got my 67th and 68th wonders. The last couple days have been so busy I haven't been to the dig site since the turn of the chapter, so I head on down to Carter's place of business and unearth a golden crown and the special stone tablet for this year. Obviously, Carter only cares about the weird stone that I found, and not the literal gem-encrusted golden cast crown. But he did tell me that the tablet I found last year translated to the phrase, "Patience is a virtue." I'm glad that the past settlers of the valley had morals. I ended yet another long day by cleaning off a whole bunch of dirty animals and collecting 2 more wonders for getting the dig site items, taking me up to a total of 70 wonders collected. I woke up to the sad reality that I had another rooster be born on day 123. I named him Purchase and instantly sold him out of spite. As I was running down to try and catch Hugh, I bumped into Pooey at the town square, where I saw him monologuing about going to Cocoa Island. Enter Van, who needs him to pay up for the goddess sickle that he borrowed. I guess Pooey didn't have permission to give it to me, so to pay Van back, Pooey had to use all the funds he saved for his trip, which, judging by Van's face, had to be a king's ransom. I guess my character didn't truly see this interaction between Pooey and Van, as when we asked Pooey what's up, he said he used all the money he saved, and the camera pans to the cafe, insinuating that Pooey spent all of the money on food or coffee or something. Anyways, I found Hugh in his room as I originally intended to do this morning, and was able to collect another music record, the Winter in Mineral Town record. But since Van is in town, it's time to get down to business, and shear some sheep and make some cheese. The sprites have more recipes now that I harvested some new 3rd-gen crops. Then it's off to Van's to make a mouth-watering 173,000 G. Being a new chapter and all, he has some new items that I just had to grab. This included a nice space-themed interior, some overalls with cute green rain boots, and an interesting vase, which he delivered by hand to my house. Thanks, Van. Now get out so I can put out the new carpet that I just bought off you. Speaking of nice new things, Gordy has created a masterpiece of artwork that he'd be happy to give me, his best friend. Obviously, I have room for it in my bedroom, so this brolic behemoth of a man added some more culture to my newly built room. Now that it's chapter 4, I have a brand new minigame to play. I stalked Van all night until I saw him go into the inn. I followed him inside, where Lou came out and asked me to assist her in feeding this man his midnight snack. Now, a normal man or woman might have some ice cream before bed, but Van is no normal person. Van only accepts the finest cuisine before bedtime. So I serve him over 15 portions of curry, soup, pasta, rice bowls, and everything in between until he's had his fill. And for my effort, Lou gifted me with some leftovers. The last couple days have been so busy, so I'm hoping for an easy day 124 as I water the crops, collect some ume fruits from the orchard, and refill the food troughs in the bird house. I ran into Nami and Gordy having a conversation down at Gordy's house, where she tells him to make the art that he loves. So obviously, Gordy goes inside his house and starts punching shit. I guess Hugh's early morning training requires a large lunch, so once again, I'm assisting Lou in the kitchen and starting Hugh down the Van diet to get his macros up. And my earlier wish is granted, as we finish up day 124 in the dig site by finding a couple new items, a strange green bell looking thing, and a golden coin. Day 125 is looking to be equally chill. I started out by getting some wool from my furry friends, making those plants nice and moist, and looking for more new dig site items. That afternoon is spent doing some fishing at the swamp with Nami, and then giving Pooey some more money since he had to use all of his savings to pay back Van. As I'm going to wash up for the evening, I run into Luna and Lumina having a domestic in the kitchen. Luna wants to go live in the villa with Romana and Sebastian, so she doesn't have to do any chores. Of course, I jump in and tell her that ain't no way a daughter of mine is gonna be a leech. So she decides to storm out like every teenager. I went to look for her and ended up catching Garrett on his way home from work. Turns out my man has finally got that promotion. Proud of you, Garrett. Proud of you. I start day 126 in the pasture utilizing the new goddess milker that makes it rain milk wherever I stand. Then it's over to the chicken coop to get another egg warmed up and to show a hen the thing that came out of it. Over at the crop fields, I get my plants nice and wet, as some of these 3rd gen crops are coming in nice and tall. Gary and Lou have some new requests for me, so I get straight into errand mode and give Gary some golden wool, and Lou gets herself a stringfish. Those 2 completions got me up to 60 requests done and dusted, and 71 wonders found. I spent the afternoon collecting some tree fruits and getting those in the seed maker for the extra profits. Then a visit to the harvest sprites was in order, but they didn't have any new recipes for me just yet. I did some mining at the dig site and some fishing over at the goddess pond before finishing off the day by giving Pooey some more money. I decided it was time to break out some fresh threads on day 127. And this internal monologue while looking in the mirror was quite sad in hindsight. Back in the fields, I got a whole bunch of crops that are ripe and ready for harvest, including some 3rd gen red bulbs. Of course, I have to make sure that my feathered friends are taken care of before hitting up Vesta's farm to finish off one of her requests for a 3rd gen field hybrid crop. This request was the one that rewarded me with the goddess hoe, which apparently Vesta's grandfather left her. This new tool got me my 72nd wonder, but the real marvel is just how awesome this thing is. It can till an entire 6x9 area in one swing, making easy work of any field. Since I'm out of recipes, I decided I need to start planting a bunch of 3rd gen seeds now, instead of waiting until the season they're ready. So I hit up Vinny and did some crop mixing with Happy Lamps, and got all those seeds planted. The rest of the day was spent down at the swamp with Rock, catching some fish. I'm back in the fields the morning of day 128, harvesting some 3rd gen crops along with some strawberries. In this round, I got my first ever calabash and mandrake to grow in, which instantly get dumped into the seed maker. Van is back in town, so you know what that means. I'm making butter and cheese. While I was waiting for Van to set up his stall, I went around town and found Kate alone with Gustafa in his yurt, talking about writing or something. All I know is that Gustafa has some incense burning. Make of that what you will. Now that Van's got his stall set up, I've got a bunch of stuff to sell him. All my goods and produce net me over 225,000 G and takes me over the 2 million mark of income earned throughout this playthrough. That afternoon, I was finally able to utilize the power of the goddess sickle by cutting down a shit ton of ripe crops before going down to the beach to do some evening fishing. The day is capped off by collecting some more milk from my cows and goat. With all these goddess tool advancements, watering with this golden level can is a little underwhelming. So the goal of day 129 is to fix this by harvesting some crops, including the all-important mellow sweet. I got to restock my chicken coop with food and dump some more crops into the seed maker. But now we can finally see the value of that mellow sweet in the kitchen as I whip up some mellow sweet ice cream. I sprint over to Romana's house to give it to her, and in exchange for my cooking prowess, I'm rewarded with the goddess watering can. I now have the best version of every single tool, having found 73 wonders and completed the tool section of the encyclopedia. With all those new 3rd gen crops I've collected, the harvest sprites have more recipes for me, including the Earth Bowl. I finished the day by doing more fishing at the beach as I search for a regular-sized langoust. Day 130, the final day of spring for the year, is a rainy one, so I get my raincoat and hood out, and it's into the field I go. You could say I'm definitely seeing enough movement from the disco ball, which gets chopped down along with the football, making it the first time I've harvested these crops. In the barn, I spent some time cleaning up these filthy animals. I guess they were playing in the mud before I brought them inside. I spent the afternoon at the dig site, finding some golden objects and doing some more fishing, before ending the day by finding Gustafa in another very strange place, hanging out with Daryl in his laboratory. I absolutely did not expect to find you here, Gustafa. How'd you know that? I guess he likes to hear the noises and sounds of the labs or something. I start day 131 and the first day of summer by snooping in Luna's diary. She does make some good points about helping me out though, so it was worth it. I checked the calendar to make sure I don't miss any events today, and then went out to the fields to find a bunch of wilted plants that I sadly had to cut down. Lucky for me, a new season means new crops, so I get a whole bunch of new seeds planted to replace the dead ones. The Harvest Sprites have blessed me with the knowledge of how to make a lunchbox, and it would appear that Cole and Daryl have some errands for me to run. I know I said I didn't really need the gems oils anymore, but you can never have enough happy lamps, so I get those collected and complete my active requests by giving Cole a blue Mado and providing Daryl with some ink black pasta. As I was making my way to the dig site, I ran into Kate and Flora having a conversation about archaeology. Kate asked Flora if she regrets coming to Forgotten Valley and becoming an archaeologist, all while missing out on love, fashion, and anything else outside of the valley. To which Flora responds that she could do all that stuff here, but her real love is in the work that she does. Their conversation ends as Kate thanks her for the insight. Now, all that eavesdropping was fun, but what's more fun is cutting down a ton of grass in one swipe with a goddess sickle, which is how I end the day. Now that the rain has passed, I start day 132 by throwing on the painter's overalls and getting into the field to show you the power of the goddess watering can, which can water an absolutely insane 9x9 square of crops. Speaking of insanity, it's still crazy how awesome these goddess clippers are, as I get 2 golden wools for the price of 1. I grab my daily recipe from the Harvest Sprites, then run into another cutscene at the dig site, as I find Luna eavesdropping on Daryl and Carter this time, having a heated discussion about calculating heat energy of the waterfall to improve the future of the valley through scientific advancements or something along those lines. Luna decides to jump into the conversation, and Daryl insists that she listen to his lecture. It would appear that Luna's just running around town today, as I find her down at the beach talking to Hugh about how no one understands her and how she hates being at home. Apparently Hugh feels the same way, but he has to go home eventually because, he gets hungry and tired, and his bed's there. He's such a simple creature. That evening is spent back down at the beach at the fireworks festival, but Luna's still quite in a mood, so as the fireworks pop off in the sky, she decides to go home early since, being a teenager is hard or whatever. But all the adults agree that she'll get over this phase eventually. We're back in the fields, utilizing the awesome power of the goddess watering can on day 133, as these 3rd gen crops are starting to really come in. Van is once again in the valley, so I'm gathering all the milk and getting it transformed into cheese and butter. And as I'm running around town, I bumped into the Harvest Sprites outside of Romana's mansion. They're still on their search for a wonderful, but can't seem to find that quality in Romana, so they run away. It's been a while since I cleaned Nina's grave, so I go ahead and do that, but I still can't get a perfect score. I've never opened up my own stall so far, so while I'm waiting for Van to get his set up, I go ahead and put some stuff up for sale and sell a fish to Tay and an ore I found to San. Van finally gets his butt in gear when he saw some competition on his turf, and I managed to sell him almost 240,000 G worth of goods. Only 210,000 away from that teddy bear. In the afternoon, a couple of my 3rd gen hybrids became nice and ripe, so now I've got my first ever blue bulb and Yellamp crops harvested. I gave Pooey his daily $1 down at the beach, then spent the evening collecting some durian fruits in the orchard. Day 134 isn't super eventful, but I got my crops watered and was able to harvest another ripe 3rd gen crop for the first time, an ocarina. The Harvest Sprites hooked me up with another recipe today, the rich salad, and the rain started to come down. So I got changed into my proper attire for it to totally dry up as soon as I got back outside. So I let the animals back out and got my cow outfit on, just in time for some more hybrid crops to be ready for harvest. This time I got some turmeric, a cymbal, some ginger, a whistle, garlic, a maraca, and a peanut. I end this day by learning from my daughter that coal has athlete's foot. I don't know how Luna would come across that knowledge, but it leaves me a little bit worried. I'm greeted by some nice and sunny weather on day 135, so my crops are definitely thirsty, and I'm happy to provide them with the liquid nourishment they require. Speaking of nourishment, I make sure to check on my chickens and collect any eggs they have laid. Then it's off to collect more happy lamps that have grown in overnight. A sunny day suddenly turned rainy out of nowhere, so I get all done up in my raincoat and head over to the dig site to find some golden artifacts. My seed maker has boar seeds, so I collect those bad boys and run over to the crop field to find that a couple more 3rd gen hybrids have grown in. With those harvested, my crop section of the encyclopedia is really starting to fill in, but it appears that 𝐋𝐢𝐳 seed that I made died and never grew in. So it's over to Vinny to create another 𝐋𝐢𝐳 seed and utilize these happy lamps so that it doesn't die this time. I get that planted and finish off the day. To start day 136, I'm in the pasture getting some milk, where I'm rudely interrupted by the harvest sprites. The chick that hatched was a girl, but I'm trying to get ducklings, so I named her Poop, which the game just didn't like. But Dookie is perfectly fine, so Dookie is instantly sold. Then it's back to working and harvesting another 3rd gen crop, which is a soramame, which I guess is some type of bean or something like that. It's been a while since I've got some orchard fruit, so I collect some of those and then hit up the kitchen to make a tropical punch. I also really like the animation of the scene maker being finished, so I thought I'd show you guys that. Looks like San and Takakura have some errands for me to run, so I complete Takakura's request by giving him some calamari, and then provide San the golden egg that she wanted. What she plans to use it for is beyond me though. After doing some fishing and contemplating down by the beach, I decided to end the day by making a fish dish for dinner, some stargazy pie. The rain has fallen down the morning of day 137, so I slip on my raincoat and check out my recipe list in the encyclopedia. There's still a very long way to go, and the only way to get started on those recipes is to gather ingredients. So I add to my stockpiles by harvesting a bunch of tomatoes before checking up on my birds. The harvest sprites teach me how to make a nutty stir fry, then it's down into the mines to do some digging. Another crop that died was my hand egg, so I hit up Vinny to make another seed and get that planted, before giving all these dirty animals a power washing. As I'm relaxing that evening doing some fishing, of course, it starts raining again, so I end the day by bringing the animals into the barn for the evening. It's still raining when I wake up the morning of day 138, so I'm gonna have to milk my animals inside today. But you won't see me complaining too much, since I don't have to water the crops, and I can just focus on harvesting. And of course, I make sure to put a portion of my harvest into the seed maker for future seasons. As if I could forget, today is a van day, so I'm in the processing room once again increasing my profit margins. Since Garrett doesn't have work today, I found him in the inn waiting for lunch to be prepared, so I decided to assist Lou once again in the kitchen with feeding this hungry salaryman. Despite his slender frame, Garrett can really put it away. 18 plates of fish and fried food put it away. My reward for cooking is more leftovers. Thanks, Lou. Honestly though, my real reward is completing the minigame section of the encyclopedia. Now that Van is finally in place, I can sell him all my stuff. After negotiating him up to a little over 200,000 G, I was left with just under 1 million G, so I decided to run back to the farm and take out some tree fruits that I've been stockpiling for exactly this reason, and sell them to him for just under 50,000 G. With this amount, I could finally buy myself the teddy bear. But of course, I gotta get myself the best deal I can, and Van offers me a 10% discount. I get my new 900,000 G teddy bear hand-delivered to Luna's room, and there is totally nothing strange about this stuffed animal. Speaking of strange things, my crop that is shaped like a basketball is ready for harvest, netting me my first The Rock vegetable, or fruit, I don't know what it is. I got all the 1st and 2nd gen crops harvested, while I was at it and spent the afternoon hanging out with Luna at the river as she contemplates life. I decided that to end the day, I needed to start working on the animal section of the encyclopedia, so sadly I had to sell Pint to make room for new animals. So I decided to talk to her one last time and give her some love as she heads to the city. I picked up right where I left off on day 139, putting on my raincoat and ordering some breeding for Pepis, since I need to have a male and female kid for the encyclopedia. Also, I had to sell Pico to make even more room in the barn. So of course, I gave him a proper send-off by talking to him and giving him some love. And wouldn't you believe it, the rain stops early in the morning. So I bring all my animals back out to the pasture and put on some more appropriate clothes to harvest more 3rd gen crops, signaling the first appearance of another 3rd gen crop, the artichoke. Of course, I dump a bunch of recently harvested crops into the seed maker, then head back out to collect the last round of happy lamps for the summer. That afternoon, my eggplants were ready for chopping, so I got those cut down, then finished the day by doing some beach fishing. The final day of summer, day 140, begins by attempting to buy myself a male star cow, but I couldn't. It's weird because it's not like I don't have enough room. I only have 14 animals in the barn. But surprise, surprise, these sheep breed like rabbits, and Porridge is already pregnant, not even a day after a spot opened up in the barn. So unfortunately, another sacrifice must be made, and Puck had the lowest heart level, so I get her sold and obviously spend a little extra time with her before she has to go to the city. I got the rest of my crops watered, and I harvested the ripe termelons, then emptied out the seed maker that is absolutely bursting at the seams with rare seeds, and got it refilled with eggplants and termelons I just harvested. I spent some time in the afternoon digging for artifacts until Takakura invited me into the barn to show me the specimen that would be mating with Pepis. Turns out he wasn't that much of a specimen, if you know what I mean. But I guess he got the job done at the end of the day. Speaking of getting the job done, I finally caught that regular langoust I was searching for. So I now have at least one of every fish in the game in each size: lil, regular, large, and huge. I know you don't have to do this, but I had to do it. The first day of autumn means a new outfit is needed for the morning of day 141. I get out in the pasture and I milk all the cows with my goddess milker, then decide that enough is enough with these unplanned pregnancies, and start selling my male sheep, starting with Pinot. I then went ahead and bought a male brown cow to continue working on the animal encyclopedia. A new season means there's a whole bunch of new crops that I need to get planted and watered, before hitting up the request board where Carter and Flora have some errands for me to run. I make the blue jam that Flora requested in the kitchen, but before I can give that item, I run into a very quirky trio: Vesta, Pooey, and Luna. It would appear that Pooey has been ripping up Vesta's crop field for food, so Vesta's gonna teach him how to actually harvest crops. Eventually, she spots Luna and asks her to help prep the fields in exchange for some delicious vegetables. After that cute cutscene, I can finish off the request I accepted earlier by giving Flora the blue jam and Carter an apple. On my way home, I gave Pooey some money so he doesn't have to steal vegetables from Vesta, and I finished the day off by giving Lumina a cake that I got as a reward for those requests I completed. The cull of animals continues on day 142 as I sold Paul and purchased a male brown cow. Of course, I had to give Paul, one of our first ever animals, a proper send-off before checking up on Luna's diary. It would appear that she has some reservations about the 900,000 G gift that I gave her. She's definitely not out of line for this entry, and the possibility of a gremlin, as she describes it, inside that bear definitely can't be ruled out. That afternoon, Takakura brought me my male marble calf back from town, and I named him Parsley. I finished this day off by giving my plants their second watering of the day. Day 143 is yet another van day, but after selling all of those sheep, my profits definitely won't be as impressive. Continuing down the animal train, I get a male normal calf purchased, and then it's over to the pasture to collect my morning milk. I have to at least try and make up for those lost profits by making cheese and butter in the processing room, but before our van even opens the stall, I gave Nina's grave a nice cleaning, added another shot for that perfection, but I still can't get it. Van took a look at all my protos and found it in his heart to give me just over 185,000 G after some haggling. But he had a new outfit in stock. And if you know me, you know I just have to buy all the outfits, even if it's 100,000 G. That afternoon, Takakura returned with my newly purchased calf, whom I affectionately name Piston. And if you thought that I wasn't instantly gonna put on an outfit that I paid an arm and a leg for, you're a fool. Out in the orchard, I collect some chestnuts, and now that I have a nice stockpile of ingredients, I decided it's time to make a dent in the dessert recipes, starting with some papal jam. I also made some banorange jam, a carrot cake, some turnberry cake, veggie juice, a smoothie, a sour smoothie, and finished this cooking session off with some vacation punch. I'm back in the pasture collecting some milk the morning of day 144, and it's off to the amazing field to water all the 2nd gen and 3rd gen crops. It's been a minute since I checked in on all our winged animals, so I hit up the chicken coop before spending some time with Carter and Flora in the dig site. I watch as the clock hits 12 p.m. and a whole bunch of my plants become ripe, including this very neat 3rd gen crop, my first ever 𝐋𝐢𝐧𝐤𝐬. I made a bunch of dessert recipes yesterday, so now it's time to cook up some salads and soups, starting with the fruit salad. I made a turnberry salad, a potamello salad, some tomatoma soup, some earth soup, darn good soup, borscht, and I finished off this round of cooking with some regular old stew. To cap off the day, I welcomed the arrival of our newest calf, who I named Perry. Today, day 145, is the harvest banquet. Investa stopped by this morning to make sure I didn't forget. We got some extra dirty animals this morning, so I get all those boys and girls nice and clean. I then get the plants watered, before realizing that my male calves have grown up. So, since the animal encyclopedia was really their only utility, I got Parsley sold away. But his short time here doesn't mean he wasn't loved just as much as any of my other animals. Since today's big event is the Harvest Festival, I ran down to the inn to show what I plan on putting in the pot today. A nice, delicious blue turnip that is sure to add some color to this otherwise beige meal. It seemed like everyone enjoyed and had a great time. And I finished off day 145 by paying restitutions to my boy Pooey for that goddess sickle, before shaking off one last crop of Granny Smith apples. To start day 146, I order my final male cow, a star calf that should be here tomorrow. Fall is a pretty dry season, so I have to do a lot of watering by hand. And then it's off to the encyclopedia, where you can see just how close I am to finishing off this animal section. Piston has fulfilled his role in that aim, so it's time to sell him off to the city, as I wish him well on his journey back up the mountain. I decided to finish off this day by taking a crack at some appetizers and entrees, starting with some veggie tempura, then making some starchy veggies, a herbal hot pot, some oden, a veggie biryani, and finishing off with some cheese fondue. All that cooking means I've made a total of 70 dishes, and I find my 76th wonder. The cooking encyclopedia is really starting to look much more populated. I'm back in the ledger to start day 147, first to sell off Perry, who has now been fully grown, and to replace him with a normal female calf, since Poppy, the first animal we ever had, came to us fully grown. Of course, I tell Perry the city's a nice place to be and give him some love, before doing my daily ranching chores by trimming some wool and collecting some milk using my goddess tools. Over in the crop fields, I get some 3rd gen crops watered and harvested, along with a whole bunch of 1st and 2nd gen crops, which will be needed for those other 50 recipes I need to make. It's been some time since I went to the dig site to look for rare artifacts, so I spent some time down there with Carter and Flora, and then realized I didn't pick up the request from Sully or Gavin yesterday. A lot of recipes need butter, so I stopped by the processing room to make some, before Takakura arrived back on the farm with our newest male calf, a star cow who I named Sunny. Then it's back in the kitchen to get started on those butter-heavy recipes, beginning with a shroom stir-fry. After that, I made a fluffy pie, veggie stir-fry, egg tart, some pound cake, a peach tart, some sweet potato tarts, a crispy tart, lumpy tart, omelet, meunière set, mushroom curry, and I finished it up with a gratin. I dropped by the cafe to give Gavin the buckmouth bass he requested. I gave Pooey 100G down by the bridge, and then finished off the day by giving Sully some milk. That request was my 70th completion, and now I have found 78 wonders. There's only 10 more wonders to go, but all of those are pretty much just a matter of time. We finally got some rain on day 148, so I throw on my raincoat and get into the field to harvest some 3rd gen crops. In case you're worried, I have been stocking and emptying the seed maker often. I just don't show that footage since it's kind of boring. The rain has forced all my large animals in the barn for today, so I get all that milk going and receive my first ever S-Star goat milk from Pepis, which means I can get S-Star cheese and butter for the byproduct section of the encyclopedia. The rain subsided for the day, so I put on a more comfortable outfit and went down to see the big man and sell him some goods. This time around, I was able to get just under 160,000 G. It's not like money matters all too much at this point, but I still like to get as much as I can. As soon as I got back home, Takakura arrived with the normal calf I ordered, who I named Puny. But since I only need her to fill out the encyclopedia, I sent her right back where she came from. I put a lid on day 148 by watering and harvesting some crops as the first snowfall of the year came down. Day 149 might be my lucky day, as I'm woken up to a female duckling having just hatched. This little one gets named Posh, and then it's back to the pasture to get some milk. I get some plants watered and scythe down the ripe ginseng, then run over to the Harvest Sprite hut to grab the seafood pho recipe. A whole bunch of carrots and potatoes are ripe and ready for plucking, and so I finish this short day off by giving Pepis some love. The final day of autumn in year 4, day 150, begins by getting some wool out in the pasture. After checking the encyclopedia, I learned that I now have every cow breed, size, and sex checked off, so I go ahead and get Sunny the star cow sold, but make sure to give the big guy some love and affection before his journey back to the city. Over at the crop fields, a new 3rd gen crop is ready for harvest. My first ever hand egg. With that crop finally in my hands, I have completed the crops section of the encyclopedia. I've officially grown and harvested at least one of every fruit, vegetable, and weird crop, whatever you want to call them, in the entire game. I have to temper my excitement because there's still plenty of work to do, especially in the coop, since all these birds need some food. But now that I got the crop section finished, it's time to really commit to the recipe list, starting with a rich salad. I also got myself the last recipe you can get from the Harvest Sprites today, the boiled fish recipe, before heading over to Vinny to do some Happy Lamp infusing, since I need a whole bunch of 3rd gen crops for the other 40 or so recipes I still need to make. I get those Happy Lamp seeds planted, and then get back into the kitchen to make some veggie pasta. I finish up this final day of autumn by preparing my fields for the planting of winter crops tomorrow. And that's exactly where I pick up on day 251, planting all those winter crop seeds in the field. It would appear that the Harvest Sprites are still having a hard time finding a wonderful, whatever that even is, and then I make sure to collect the errand requests from Romana and Sebastian before picking up my first upseed of the season. That evening, I get my second helping of milk from the cows, and then get in the kitchen to whip up the Odin that Sebastian asked for. I finish up the first day of winter by completing Romana's request, then deliver Sebastian that nice, piping hot Odin like I work for DoorDash. To start day 152, I'm cutting some wool off the sheep, and Pepis is finally ready to be isolated. Those of you with a great memory will know that means Porridge is also ready to be isolated, as 2 new members are about to join the farm. As I was feeding the birds, I found Lumina enjoying herself, talking to the chickens, and I spent that afternoon doing some animal washing. To finish off another short day, I'm back in the kitchen, whipping up a rare salad. The snowfall is pretty heavy on day 153, so I throw on my Christmas jumper for all you Brits out there, and get to doing my farm chores, watering crops and milking some animals that have udders. You'd think 30 things of chicken food will last you a long time, but you're wrong. So I decided to order 100 more units of chicken feed before turning all that milk I've hoarded into cheese and butter. 147,000 G isn't too bad considering how many sheep I've had to sacrifice. And a nice relaxing day comes to a close as I shake a tree for some fruit, side down a huge swath of grass, and make sure my animals are well fed overnight. Another snowy day means not only do I have to water the plants manually, but I also have to work with my animals inside the barn. I guess they're a little bit closer together, so it makes milking them faster. Anyways, the chickens and ducks never leave the coop anyways, so it's easy to pick up their eggs and give them cuddles. But as soon as I mentioned it, the snow stops, so I put on a new outfit and get digging in the mines. Yet another short day is capped off by giving my plants another helping of water. My egg hatching has been super lucky recently, as I've got another female duck to name on day 155. Pollo seems like a perfect fit for this little one. If animals could get sick in this game, I would keep my sheep nice and woolly, but they can't, so I won't. After a long and exhausting search, it would appear that the harvest sprites finally found themselves a wonderful, the sweet dulcet tones of Gustava. After finding one, I guess they have more to look for, so good luck to you, Jack, Ace, and Heart. I almost forgot that tonight was the Starry Night Festival, so I'm glad Gavin reminded me. Everyone has a good time, as is typical, watching the shooting stars light up the night sky, and I, once again, wish for Luna to take an interest in farming. Lumina's wish for continued health of everyone she cares about is much more selfless than mine, I suppose. Hearing her talk about losing both of her parents at a young age and how she's just glad to be there for Luna, even though she's being a little bit of a turd, really does pull on the old heartstrings. For those curious, I'm not too sure that the farmer's wish does all that much, but it's better than nothing, I suppose. The harvest sprites are at my door the morning of day 156, but this time it isn't for a new animal. Since they found they're wonderful, they decided to give me a gift for helping them find wonders. The gift they gave me is a matching sprite outfit, so you know I had to throw that on, like, ASAP. I'm all done up in green, and I make sure all my isolated animals are well fed, before making a massive blunder by selling my only male duck, Pete. I wanted to have 8 hens and 8 female ducks, so I thought that since I had a whole bunch of fertilized eggs in my inventory, I no longer needed a male duck. But to get ducklings, you need to have at least 1 male duck in your coop, so selling Pete really screwed me in that goal. But it's not a big deal in the grand scope of things, it's just something that I thought I'd mention if you're playing this game. The 6th day of the season means more requests to gather, so I got myself a char out of my fridge, made some butter in the processing room, and went to complete Charlie's request. It's been a while since I played territory capture, but it's kind of like riding a bike. Once you got the skills, you just don't lose them. I even beat up on Cole for good measure. I gave my crops the customary second watering of the day, then watched Garrett come across the mountain pass so that I could finish his request and put a cap on day 156. The snow remains in the air on day 157, so the animals get tended to inside the barn once again. Having all these ducks and chickens to love really takes a lot of time. But we have a new farm member this morning, a male sheep who I decided to name Pasta. I spent some time doing harvest sprite things since we all have matching threads now, and then all 4 of us ran back to the farm to see Pepis has given birth to a female kid who gets named Prancer. With that addition, I only need a male kid and adult goat to finish out the animal section of the encyclopedia. Also, it might have taken a while, but Ponyo the cat is now added to my best friends list, so I spent some time talking to Vinny to get every single character and pet on this little list here have maxed out friendship. And the last thing I do on day 157 is harvest a ripe crop of turnips. There's been nothing but snow these last couple mornings, but I finally got one of the last animal byproducts I need, mother's milk, on day 158. To get another byproduct I've been looking for, I throw one of those mother's milks into the cheese maker to make mother's cheese. Of course, I make sure all my 3rd gen crops are nice and wet, and then is back to the processing room to make some produce for Van's visit today. I gave Luna a flower and sold off all my processed goods to Van for just over 125,000 G. That afternoon, I was able to harvest some blue bulbs and red lamps in the crop field, and then I took them over to the kitchen to use them in creating a sparkling salad and a red light salad to finish off the day. The inclement weather continues on day 159, as a typhoon is about to make landfall in Forgotten Valley. So I get my rain gear on and get to the barn to collect some more milk, including another mother's milk, which gets turned into mother's butter in the processing room. A nice rainy, typhoony day is best spent with Carter and Flora in the dig site. Then it's back to the crop fields to harvest some more purple lamps and mandrakes. It appears that the typhoon was short-lived. So I hit up my closet and throw on some more comfortable attire and finish off the day by collecting some more milk from the cows. I guess all my cows were enjoying the mud puddles this morning, as I get them all cleaned off to start day 160, the final day of year 4. Some calabash and AO crops are ready for harvest, so I get those chopped down and then head over to the chicken coop to check on all my feathered friends. That afternoon, some cookies, donuts, whistles, and castanets are ready for chopping, so I get those side down and over to the kitchen to make a dancing dessert, our final act of this day. As we move into Chapter 5, we do yet another time skip, and now Luna has grown up to be a young adult. It would appear that her interest in music has transformed into a love for education and academics. But Lumina still insists on her helping around the family farm. Nothing much has changed in these last couple of years though, as Pui is still lurking around the farm. Now that we're officially into a new year on day 161, there's a whole slate of new cutscenes and items to discover. A fun discovery is that my daughter finally appreciates the work I put in on the farm. I probably shouldn't be checking her diary at this age, but you know, I'm a snooper, what can I say? By the way, for those of you who want to know, here are the interest levels of Luna on this first day of Chapter 5. Also, we got our 79th wonder for still being alive, which is great. I love being alive. One thing that definitely isn't still alive are some crops that decided to die on me as the seasons changed. So I've got to cut those down and get the field prepped to plant the massive amount of spring crops. It looks like some residents of the valley have already gotten busy with requests on the first day of the year, but what's most important to me is getting into the dig site and finding new stuff, like this mete ore. I also made sure to spend all the time I could to find the final stone tablet, which Carter instantly translates for us. Now that we've got every single tablet, Carter thinks we can recreate the entire sequence. Turns out we'll need Lou's help for this part, as Carter prepares the ingredients. Flora seems kinda disappointed with the outcome of this whole tablet search, but at least we get to enjoy the relaxing motion of the river. It would appear that the message these previous inhabitants of Forgotten Valley were trying to tell us was a recipe for curry, of all things. Well, at least we got a nice meal out of all this digging. I also got my 80th wonder for collecting every single stone tablet. That evening, I made sure all my new seedlings were watered before scything down the ripe teapots, teacups, candies, and garlic before dumping a bunch of them into the seed maker. To finish off the day, I gave Sebastian a mellow blue as requested. Farm chores start on day 162 by collecting milk from all the cows. Then it's over to the crop fields to water some plants and harvest a whole bunch of ripe 3rd gen crops. With all these extra ingredients, I'm in the kitchen early cooking up a party salad and some pickles. These last 2 recipes marked the 90th that I've created, awarding me with my 81st wonder. The birds in the coop get some cuddles, and then I stumble upon our annual tradition of finding Molly at the bridge looking distraught. Would you believe me when I say that she got dumped again? Turns out the person she was dating this time around and didn't see marriage in the future, so they split up. But this time, I guess Gavin's finally come to his senses and relieves me of my therapist duties. I'm just a little curious boy, so I went over to the cafe to see if anything happened after that. Only for Molly to leave the cafe and run over to the inn to get some ingredients. As she's outside, Gavin says he just can't imagine her getting married nowadays. Sounds like kinda talk to me. But he really does enjoy her company, so I guess I'll just let it slide. As much as I want them to be together, I guess they're just roommates.
Oh my god, they were roommates.
Back on the farm, the seed maker is ready to be cleaned out and replaced, so I get that done and take some seeds along with Happy Lamps over to Vinny so I can plant them now instead of later. And I end this day by getting those newly planted crops watered. I'm feeling spritey today, so I throw on my honorary Harvest Sprite uniform to start day 163. Then it's out to the fields to get some milk. Everyone's favorite salesman is coming to town today, so I make sure to get all my golden wool from my sheep and turn my milk into butter and cheese, before showing all of my goods to Van for a respectable 158,000 G. I also went ahead and bought myself 3 hyper drinks and ran over to Daryl's lab to complete his request. In exchange, I got myself a toolbox, and I placed it right next to Luna's old sand bucket and shovel. It's kind of bittersweet seeing these two items next to each other, but that evening, as I'm inspecting Daryl's gift for any hidden cameras or microphones, Luna sees the toolbox and asks to borrow them to create something that is going to be a little surprise for later. And that's how I end day 163. Rain is back on the menu on day 164, so I get my rain gear on and collect some fruit at the orchard. Over at the chicken coop, I've got some ducks to pet and eggs to collect. Then it's over to the dig site where I finally unearthed the final golden object in the game, the golden bear. Not only is it worth a good chunk of change, but I also get my 80-second wonder for finding all 5 golden artifacts. The rain didn't let up all day, so I'm forced to milk my cows and goats inside the barn to finish off this evening. Speaking of being inside, day 165 starts in the exact same place, making sure my large animals are staying fed with all this inclement weather. These birds don't even know what the outside is though, let alone what rain feels like. The next thing on the docket is to order another breeding session for Peppis, since I need a male goat kid to finish off that section of the encyclopedia. This evening, I finally learned why Luna needed that toolbox. She used her ingenuity and intelligence to make some shelves for the kitchen, since we're always running out of room for pots and pans and whatnot. It would appear that we have our very own handyman in the family, which is nice. The rain finally subsided, so I put on a light sweater and went back out to tend the crops and milk the animals to finish off the day. I'm reminded of just how old I look on day 166. So obviously, I go out into the spring sunshine without any sunblock or moisturizer, no skincare routine at all, and I'm just watering the crops. I make sure to keep these sheepies nice and clean, and then shake down some ume fruits from the tree before checking out the request board for the second time in the season. Tay requested some cheese, so I get that made, and Cole needs some ahi, so I take one out of the fridge before being interrupted by Takakura with Peppis's appointment. Everything goes off without a hitch this time around, so I spend the evening watering my crops and harvesting the ripe ones that have grown quickly before heading to the inn to complete Tay's request. Of course, I find Cole outside his house and give him that ahi that he wanted, completing day 166. It seems like more days have been rainy than haven't this season. Day 167 begins in the field harvesting some ripe 3rd gen crops. It's been a while since I've seen a squash, so here it is. I've also got some red bulbs to cut down. In the barn, I learned that Porridge is pregnant once again, so that's fun. At least she has some golden wool for me. Since the rain has finally stopped, I throw on my painter's overalls and go to the dig site, only for it to start raining again. So it's back to the closet. These animals get so dirty so quickly, especially when it rains and they're kept inside. I don't know if that's like an actual thing. But anyways, I end this day by getting them all clean. On day 168, I got my first bit of wool from Pasta before collecting my morning milk from all the cows. A butt ton of 3rd gen crops are ready for harvest this morning, so I get those cut down along with some 2nd gen crops on the opposite side of the field. Most of these will be used in recipes, so extras are thrown into the seed maker. Speaking of recipes, today I decided to make some odd soup, mixed punch, healthy juice, and some deluxe juice. I also ordered some fodder plus for the new baby sheep that is inbound via Porridge. Van is in town once again, so it's over to the processing room to make some cheese and butter. This time around, I was able to get a healthy 185,000 G. It's just a shame that he doesn't really sell anything interesting after Chapter 4. It seems like the majority of my crops decided to turn ripe today. So I get a whole host of veggies harvested, and then it's back to the kitchen to make some shiny stir fry. I also make an incredible sweet potato, an earth bowl, some shiny tempura, and finally some rare stew. That makes a total of 100 different recipes made, awarding me my 83rd wonder. This recipe list in the encyclopedia is really starting to come together. Also, I only have 5 more wonders to get, so that's pretty exciting. I start day 169 by throwing on my raincoat and getting into the seed maker, collecting all the prepared seeds and replacing them with crops. Out in the fields, a handful of crops are ripe, so I get those harvested, then make my way into the barn to feed all the large animals. In the chicken coop, all my birds get some love and cuddles, and then the rain turned to sun, so I threw on my Harvest Sprite outfit and got even more crops harvested. With all these new ingredients, I got in the kitchen and made some baked picarro, spicy curry, nutty stir fry, and finished this cooking session with some dancing tempura. That baked picarro was made for a request from Lou, which I can finally complete before giving my crops their second watering of the day. I finished day 169 by finding Luna at the cafe at 10 p.m. I mean, this would make perfect sense if this cafe was still a bar. I mean, you're a young adult, Luna, you can drink alcohol, but what do you need caffeine for this late? Are you studying with Daryl? Like, what's going on? The final day of spring, day 170, begins by watering some plants and harvesting the ripe 3rd gen crops that I've grown in overnight. I get some golden wool collected, then drop off some crops into the seed maker. Of course, I'm back in the kitchen, baby, but it's only one recipe today. I'm making a lunchbox. Then it's over to Vinny to make some 𝐷𝐷𝐷𝐷 seeds for more ingredients. A whole bunch of teacups, teapots, castanets, ginseng, and garlic are ready for harvest. And with all those new 3rd gen crops harvested, I'm back in the kitchen again to make some darn good pickles and bean paste before ending this spring season with one last milk collection. I totally didn't forget to hit record the morning of day 171, so I start this day by picking up some requests from Carter and Hugh. Summer means that the all-important happy lamps are finally in season, so I get those collected, then complete my errands by giving Hugh a blue turnip and providing Carter with the rare stew that I made a couple days ago. Those completed requests mark 80 total completions and 84 wonders found. I spend the evening making sure that every single plant in the field is nice and watered before claiming my second tithe of milk for the day. As I was getting ready for bed, Lumina ushered me into the kitchen where Pancho, Ponyo, Luna, and Takakura are all waiting with a delicious feast. It would appear that this is an anniversary celebration hosted by Luna. We have some delicious food, and Lumina says some very sweet things about how awesome our time together has been. The perfect end to a lovely day. It seemed a little silly to have the Sprite outfit on during that cutscene, so I changed it out for some overalls before getting my seed maker emptied out to start day 172. Some chochins and disco balls are ready for harvest, and I've got animals to milk and shear in the pasture. A whole bunch of fresh crops get dumped into the seed maker, and then I check up on my birds and make sure that they're fed and taken care of. The second day of summer is the fireworks festival, so the whole fam is down at the beach to watch Charlie and Cole do their thing. Luna has definitely gotten over her teenage angst phase if you compare her attitude tonight to last chapter's fireworks festival. Van is stopping by in town today on day 173, but the most important part of today is that I finally got the last animal byproduct, some blue quality wool from pasta. With that item, I've officially completed the byproduct section of the encyclopedia. To avoid any future unwanted pregnancies, I have to sell pasta away, but not before thanking him for his service to the farm, as I wish him good luck in the city. Now that money doesn't matter, I no longer make cheese or milk for Van. I just sell him what I got for just under 128,000 G. I totally forgot to water my crops in the excitement of getting that blue wool this morning, so I get that fixed and spend some time collecting some tree fruits. Then it's over to Vinny to make some 3rd gen hybrids that will grow in any season, and finish off this day by using the goddess hoe to prep and plant those seeds in the field. The rain from yesterday is still in the mix on day 174, so with my raincoat equipped, I make my way to the barn to get some milk from our uttered friends. The only thing of note that I did today was collect some ready seeds from the seed maker and refilled the feed squares in the chicken coop. As soon as it cleared up on day 175, it started raining again, so it's back to the barn for all you large animals. But I can't leave them all super dirty, so I get the brush out and handle that before harvesting a bunch of turnips and getting them put into the seed maker. As I'm going to wash up for the evening, I run into Lumina and Luna having a chat where Luna reveals the worst kept secret in the valley by admitting that she likes Hugh. Lumina then recounts her own tale about how she found out about love, and then she talks about how we got together before, of course, I step in and tell my side of the story. Luna wakes me up the day of 176 to let me know that I can leave the birds to her. So I'm in the pasture to start the day by milking the cows, and then the request board has been populated with some errands. Looks like Flora and Charlie have some stuff for me to do. These were easy enough, as Flora only needed some S-star milk, and Charlie requested a single stringfish, of which I have plenty. Another short day is capped off by harvesting some ripe 2nd gen potato crop thingies. I had some chicks born on day 177. The first one's a boy, so obviously he gets named Pooper. And then the second one was also a boy, so he gets named Pooper 2. Of course, Pooper 2 gets sold instantly, and then it's down to work by collecting some golden wool from porridge and harvesting some crops. And that's all about happens today, as I finish this day by dumping off some crops in the seed maker. Van is in town on day 178, so I get the cows milked, but Pepis is finally ready to be isolated. So I get her sequestered inside the barn before harvesting a bunch of crops in the field. And I mean a bunch of crops. All the vegetables and fruits I don't plan on using for recipes are put in the seed maker, and then I get Pooper number 1 sold away. With all those new ingredients, we're back in the kitchen, cooking up some remedy soup, boiled fish, veggie surprise, and Pocaro stir fry. At this point in time, I think there's about a dozen recipes I still need to make, so it's back into the field to harvest even more ingredients. Then over to Vans to make some money. This time around, I was able to get about 125,000 G. Then it's back into the kitchen to make a veggie loaf and a mountain bowl, before finishing the day by utilizing the power of the goddess scythe to cut some grass in the rain. I start day 179 by emptying out the seed maker and then harvesting some ripe crops in the field. It looks like porridge is finally ready for isolation again, so I get her all set up in the barn before saying hello to all the chickens and ducks in the coop. Back at my house in the kitchen, I make myself a bean bowl, a minced veggie bowl, and some curry, before finishing the day by harvesting some eggplants and watering the remaining crops. I realized on day 180, 2 recipes in the encyclopedia aren't actually recipes you can learn, they're just failed dishes that you make by combining 2 ingredients that should never go together, and then repeating that process with 3 ingredients to create the failed dish and the unknown dish. After creating those absolute travesties of cuisine, it's out to the pasture to get some milk. Then over to the crop field to water and harvest my second to last round of crops for the summer. These crops get put into the seed maker, and then I run down to Gustafa's yurt to collect the final round of happy lamps. I harvested one last cookie in the fields, then it's back to make some afternoon sweets in the kitchen. I spent the remainder of this final day of summer doing some seed enhancement with Vinny, getting all the seeds ready to plant for tomorrow, and prepping the field for the autumn crop. I pick up right where I left off on day 181, in the crop fields getting seeds planted with the rain doing the watering for me. I harvest a whole bunch of garlic that grew in overnight, then hit up the request board where Gavin and Romana need some errands done. With all this extra garlic, I can finally make some seafood pho, Pirate's Delight, and mushroom pasta. I completed Gavin's request for a tree crop with a delicious grape, and gave Romana the odd soup that I made on day 168. My fertilizer spreader was running a little low, so I made some fertilizer with leftover flowers and got 100 units put into the machine. Speaking of machines, I finish off day 181 by giving the seed maker a little snack of 2nd gen crops. Day 182 begins in the barn getting some wool from my sheep, and then it's over to the chicken coop to check on these bird boys. A new season means an outfit change is in order, and I need to make sure Prince has that nice clean coat. And an incredibly short day 182 ends by clearing out the seed maker again. Another chick is hatched to start day 183, but another boy means another pooper. Speaking of poopers, where's the manure in this game? Like, I should be able to get manure as fertilizer, but maybe that's why the grass keeps growing in the pasture, I don't know. Anyways, I water the crops and greet my newest farm member. I totally didn't save scum at all to get this male kid who I named Plankton. Now I just need him to grow up to complete this animal section of the encyclopedia. I almost forgot that Van was here today, so I sold him some stuff to the tune of 116,000 G, and finish the day off by collecting some tree fruits in the orchard. Another day means another male chicken. Welcome Pooper 4 to the coop. His stay is only for one night though. The morning of day 184 is spent doing my typical farm chores, milking cows, watering crops, and refilling the food boxes in the chicken coop. Porridge gave birth though, so that's nice. Lucky for me, this sheep is a girl, so no unplanned pregnancies will happen again, now that Primrose is joining the flock to finish off day 184. Fest is at my front door on day 185 to remind me to come to the Harvest Festival this afternoon. So I get straight to work getting some goat milk from Prancer and collecting some golden wool off of one of my sheep. Pooper 3 gets sold away, then it's off to the layover inn, where I present Lou with the eggplant I plan on providing for this meal this afternoon. I get that tossed in the pot, and Van loves the flavor of this eggplant so much that he eats way too many bowls of soup. Back on the farm, I'm shaking a chestnut tree to get the nuts to fall, then collecting a singular artichoke crop so that I can make the ghostly stew recipe, leaving only one more recipe to go. I'm sure you guys and gals can tell we're starting to get into a pattern around day 186. This late in the game, there isn't much to do if you've been super efficient like I have. Most mornings are spent milking animals, watering crops, and harvesting any ripe vegetables in the fields. And of course, you gotta keep tabs on the coop animals and going in there to top up their food and get eggs. The first and 6 days of every season at least are kind of interesting because you have some requests to do. After collecting some tree fruits, I go over to Gary's house and give him a fish, and then I run over to Vesta's to complete her request for some golden wool. And then I finish the day by watering crops and doing another round of harvesting. And that cycle continues on day 187. I milk some animals in the pasture, water all the crops in the amazing field, and cut down some ripe 2nd and 3rd gen crops, and dump whatever I don't plan to use in recipes in the seed maker. What is different about today is that Prancer gets sold to the city, since I don't really have much use for her now. So I say goodbye to her and wish her luck as she heads to the city tomorrow. And just like that, tomorrow's here. It's day 188, and I've got some golden wool to collect and some musical themed crops to harvest, along with some strawberries and a cookie crop on the other side of the field. All those crops I put in yesterday have been transformed to their seed form, so I get the machine restocked, and then it's over to Vans to make 135,000 G. Once again, money's not super important now, but I keep selling the van instead of just putting it in the shipping bin so that I can get as much as I can and see how much money you can actually make if you're super efficient. More crops are ready for harvest in the afternoon, but now it's the moment everyone's been waiting for. I finally have all the necessary ingredients for the final recipe, the sugar house. I've officially cooked every single recipe in the game and completed that section of the encyclopedia, which finishes off day 188. A nice rainy day 189 means no watering for this little fella, so we're out in the fields just harvesting a bunch of crops. Of course, I'm going to get the seed maker emptied and filled back up again before I hit up the chicken coop to check up on all my birds. The one interesting thing I did today was start my dairy empire by purchasing a female star cow. Rain eventually turned to snow, so I threw on my Christmas sweater and got back to farmer mode, harvesting some ripe pea crops and some carrots to finish off a day 189. On the final day of autumn, day 190, I have a bunch of dirty animals to clean and a bunch of crops to water. This late in the season, there isn't too many crops to harvest, but the ones that are ripe get scythed down and placed into the seed maker. The birds need a lot of feed, so I get their box refilled once again, and then Takakura arrives back on the farm with my new star cow, who will be named Petunia. The afternoon is spent harvesting all those ripe crops remaining in the field, including the chochines and eggplants, before ordering yet another female star cow. I got the money, why not spend it, right? Day 191 and the first day of winter begins in the seed maker, collecting our haul and getting into the field to plant a whole bunch of stuff. Of course, I would be a terrible farmer if I didn't water these bad boys. Then it's time to continue my dairy operation by purchasing yet another star cow. It looks like Pooey and Kate have some requests on the board this morning, so Kate gets herself a Banorange fruit, and Pooey gets a regular old turnip. The star cow I ordered yesterday has arrived with Takakura in tow, and she shall be named Piccolo. After having a chat with Cece, I ran into Matthew, who seems to be slacking off and not getting the turnips that Cecilia requested. It would appear that Matthew's easily distracted, so our plans to get lunch get cut short since he actually has to do work. It's been a while since I gave Pooey some cash, so I hand over 50G to finish off this day. The second day of winter, day 192, is super exciting as Plankton the goat has finally matured. That means the animals section of the encyclopedia is finally complete. So I get Plankton sold off to the city and give him a cuddle goodbye as he makes his way to his new owners. I get the crops watered in the morning and welcome our newest farm member, a star cow named Puzzle. That evening, I run into Matthew talking to Takakura. He asks if I want to join for dinner, but I still got some stuff to do. I don't really have anything to do, but you don't get to see this portion of this hilarious cutscene where Matthew gets the door slammed on him if you don't select the option, so I'm gonna select the option. To feign that I am working, I shake down the orange tree to get some fruit, and then I finally meet up with Takakura, Matthew, and Vinny in Takakura's house to have a boys' night. Of course, Matthew's griping about how Cece is always on his case about, being a productive member of society. Could you imagine that? And I tell him that Lumina's just as great as ever. Then Takakura drops some sweet knowledge as Matthew leaves for the evening, and we end day 192. I'll be honest, nothing entirely interesting happens the next couple days, so I'll just hit the highlights. On day 193, Van came to town and I made around 132,000 G selling stuff to him. My newest star cow arrived on the farm on day 194, and I named her Plax. Lumina and I attended the Starlight Festival the evening of day 195, but I could no longer wish for Luna to have a farming interest, so naturally, I wished for the continued health of myself and my family. Luna, however, also made her first appearance at this festival, and Lumina got sentimental thinking about how it was only yesterday that Lumina was a baby and we were holding her and just, it's just cute. On day 196, I picked up a couple of requests from Chris and Muku Muku. They were fairly straightforward to complete as Muku Muku wanted a fish and Chris only needed some butter. I did get my 85th wonder from completing 90 requests, so, that's pretty pog if you ask me. The morning of day 197, another male chicken hatched, so Pooper 6 was welcomed to the world and instantly sold. And for those curious, I am taking care of my animals when I'm going through this highlight section. I wasn't just sleeping through the days or anything like that. Van was back in town on day 198, and I was able to make around 176,000 G on this day. And then Luna decided to lend a hand with the birds on a rainy day 199 as I went to the crop fields and collect some ripe crops. And that's what I did on day 200. I harvested some crops and checked in on the ones that would probably die when the seasons change. And that's about what I've gotten up to in these last 100 days of Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life. I've collected 85 of the 88 possible wonders, I've made almost 5 million G, and I've got a full barn of animals that either give milk or golden wool. Most of the encyclopedia has been completed, and if you want to pause here, you can, but I'm kind of just flicking through all the little subsections of the encyclopedia. So the animals, the byproducts, the crops, the recipes, the fish, the tools, facilities, minigames, and resident sections, the ones that I've already completed and that you've already seen throughout this video. Again, if you want to pause and make sure that I've done it, there's a little crown there, but that's on you. The only sections I have yet to complete are the archaeological finds and the record sections, but those are impossible to complete at this point in the game anyways. So I guess that's it for these 100 days. It was at this point, 200 days in, that I realized that there was only one more chapter left. Only 40 more days to finally complete this story that A Wonderful Life spins. There's only a couple more wonders to find, cutscenes to see, and a handful of items to tick off to complete the encyclopedia. So, I decided to forego a part 3 for this series and finish it right now. Fair warning, we are gonna jump between days pretty quickly, but it should still be pretty interesting. So, enjoy this epilogue. I start year 6 as Lumina mentions that Luna hasn't come home just yet. So I go off to look for her and find her in Daryl's lab, helping with some experiments. As the passage of time continues to wear on my body, we are really starting to look even older. But it looks like Luna is starting to help around on the farm a little bit more, since our stamina isn't what it used to be. On day 201, Lumina asks us to go on a walk and enjoy the springtime weather. We walk all around town and eventually end up at the waterfall, where I thank her for the fun date. Later that afternoon, I enjoy the New Year's festival over down at Romana's as Lumina plays the piano to everyone's delight. That evening, I have finally collected enough wonders to meet the Harvest Goddess. I guess mortal eyes can't fathom her beauty, so I stare at a white screen for a couple minutes as she tells us that she will ask some other gods and goddesses to give Forgotten Valley their blessings. On day 202, I catch a cutscene with Tay and Lou as they chat about their own personal love story that we've borne witness to over the last couple chapters. It's a very sweet and cute moment that you have to see if you play A Wonderful Life. On day 203, I finish up getting an entire coop full of egg-laying animals as I name our final female chicken, Princess. That afternoon, I have a chat with Luna and collect the final record that I needed for the encyclopedia, My Racing Heart, which gets us a nice little crown for that section. Down at the beach, I catch Takakura and Luna having a talk about what Lumina and I were like before we got all old and wrinkly. But Luna ditches me and runs after Takakura. The majority of day 204 is spent in the dig site looking for the final items. Today, I found the footprint fossil and the Millennium Ore. And I have to skip all the way to day 207 to find the last dig site item, the stone wheel, which not only gets us a nice little crown in the archaeological items section, but also signals the completion of the entire encyclopedia, a monumental achievement. There's nothing left to see in spring, so we skip all the way to summer on day 211. We run into Nami down at the inn where she is talking about doing something for Tay and Lou, but isn't exactly sure on what to do just yet. That evening, Luna asks if I'm going to take a bath and offers to scrub my back for me. Obviously, this is embarrassing, but she won't take no for an answer. I then get another heartbreaking but beautiful cutscene where Luna and I enjoy some time together like we did when she was just a baby. If you've played A Wonderful Life and you haven't finished the game or you haven't got this cutscene, you should finish the game, get to chapter 6, or start a new save so that you can see all these cutscenes, because these last chapter cutscenes really do hit you in the feels. We moved on to day 212, where I watched the fireworks festival for the final time. As the fireworks popped into the sky, Luna and Takakura went back to the farm, leaving Lumina and I at the beach to enjoy some alone time. And just like that, summer's over. I skip all the way to fall on day 221 to give Sully an item that he requested and give Takakura an eggplant. Those two requests were the final ones I needed to find the charismatic superhero wonder for completing 100 requests. This is my 87th and penultimate wonder, meaning that the only one remaining is by finishing the game, finishing this chapter and reaching chapter 7. That afternoon, Baddock shows up at my house asking for Luna. It turns out that Luna seems to be doing some studying under Baddock, and he gifts her some books about ancient philosophy. Seems like Luna really does love the world of academics. On day 224, we find Nami once again chilling at the inn. It seems she's finally figured out what to do for Tay and Lou, and decides that we need to throw them a wedding since they've never had a formal celebration. So Van, Nami, Rock, and I meet them at the bridge in the pouring rain and officially wed Tay and Lou in holy matrimony. As the leaves turn over for the final winter, I catch Luna and Lumina having a little chat outside the house on day 232 about living in Forgotten Valley for all this time. They talk about Luna possibly leaving the valley, but taking all the time that she needs to actively decide that. And of course, they leave the light on for me as I'm finishing up my farm work. And finally, it's day 240, the last day of the story, so I decided to throw on the default farmer outfit and show you guys everything I did on this last day. I started the day by checking Luna's diary like any father would. I had one final chat with Garrett, Matthew, Vesta, and Cecilia, and I also scrubbed Nina's grave for the final time, which I finally got a perfect score. Of course, I did so well, I got to see Nina in the material plane before meeting up with her tomorrow. Then I went to say goodbye to all of my animals. Every single one of these cute little bastards that I raised and loved for all these years got one last moment with me, their owner. And of course, I couldn't leave out Ponyo the cat and Poncho, so I do some final training with him. I said goodbye to Nami down at the river, Muku Muku and Pui over at the Goddess Pond, then ran into the Harvest Sprite hut to give my love to Ace, Jack, and Hart. Down at the dig site, I did one last hunt for rare items with Carter and Flora, and had a chat with Kate. Over at the inn, I had one last talk with Rock, Lou, and Tay, and then went over to the cafe to say goodbye to Molly and order one last sandwich from Gavin. Baddock asked how I was feeling, and of course I had to lie and tell him that I felt great. I talked to San inside her house and then ran into Chris near Gordy's house. Gordy was all business as usual when I said goodbye to him, and then it's over to the Fireworks Bros hut for one last chat with those two guys. I also finished another request of Cole's for good measure. I say goodbye to my pseudo-grandmother-in-law, Romana, who now looks much younger than me somehow. And then I stopped by Sebastian's kitchen, where he tells me Lumina's favorite dish. That seemed auspicious, so I went straight home and made some sweet potato tarts as a final treat. That afternoon, I said goodbye to more people, including Daryl, Gustafa, and Hugh, then gave Lumina her favorite meal. I also made one for Luna, since I bet she would like it too. Sully finally came back from work, so I talked to him down by the swamp, and then went over to Takakura's house to have one last chat with the first person I ever met in Forgotten Valley. Of course, I had one last little talk with Vinny, and then I took in my farm with all my animals and all my crops and all my trees one last time, before wishing Luna goodnight and hopping into bed with Lumina. My final moments with Lumina came as we were just admiring the view outside her bedroom. I told her she looks as lovely as ever as I've gotten old and gray. Every story has a beginning, middle, and end. And it appears that I've reached the end of mine, as Baddock has to give Lumina and Luna the sad news of my passing. Cecilia, Nami, Pui, and Carter all meet down at the local watering hole and lament the loss of their dear friend, as Molly chimes in and tries to cheer everybody up. Father Time is undefeated, so of course time goes on without me. Luna seems to have really committed to becoming an academic. She even decided to go to university in the city. That left her mother, Lumina, to run the farm, and of course, Takakura can't retire. But as I said earlier, life goes on. It might be a bit lonelier in Forgotten Valley, but it's still as busy as ever. Everybody's still running around and got stuff to do. It appears Takakura is feeling his age too, but he's excited to meet up with me and my dad and run a farm in the great beyond. And so, our story ends, as we get one last moment to cherish and savor the life we built in Forgotten Valley, with Lumina, Luna, Ponyo, Poncho, and Takakura. And I think it isn't too far-fetched or too cheesy to say that this life, from start to finish, was indeed a wonderful one. Thank you so much for watching my video. A Wonderful Life, the original and this remake, really means a lot to me personally and as a content creator. I started this channel around the original Harvest Moon Wonderful Life, and it's crazy to think that that's how it started and where I am now. I just want to take a quick moment to properly thank all of you who have subscribed, watch any of my videos, and are a part of this awesome community. It really is a dream come true. Speaking of community, if you want to get more involved in mine, you should follow me on Twitter and Twitch. Those links are in the description, along with a link to join my personal Discord server. There are tons of awesome people, just like you, in there, and I'm pretty sure that they'd be happy to welcome another amazing person to the group. With all that being said, thanks again for watching the video. I've still got a lot of ideas for future videos, so make sure to subscribe and enable notifications so that you can be the first one to watch when a new video goes live. I hope I'll see you guys in my next video.